Everyone, this is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Architects and Go Cloud Careers. And I'm so excited to be here with you today to go over our Cloud Architect interview demonstration. Because if you want to be a cloud architect or build a cloud architect career, we've got to get that cloud architect job. And if you're wondering how to get that first cloud architect job, part of that comes from the cloud architect interview. And that's why we're going to be doing cloud architect interview demonstrations to give you guys a chance to practice for this interview. Now, at Go Cloud Careers, we've been studying interview tactics for 25 years. And I will say, due to this study, we have asked thousands of hiring managers, thousands of recruiters all over the world, what do you want in a perfect candidate? And with that, we know exactly how to maximize the interview. I'm going to tell you this. I've been on 5 interviews for my career, and I've had 5 job offers. And it's not because there's anything so special about me, but I've studied the interview for decades now. And the interview is like a chess match. The company has their initiative and we have our initiatives. And when it comes to getting hired on that cloud architect interview, if you master the interview, you'll get hired and you'll get paid a lot more. So this, in our mind, or preparing for interviews is essential cloud architect career development. And whether you're coming at it as a cloud engineer, it's still cloud computing career development. And this is absolutely cloud computing career training, because if you don't get hired, what's the point of the rest of it? That's why we created our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, because realistically speaking, we all need a technical career development program that makes us better to help us get to the goals and the careers of our choice. So that's why we're here today. Now, this is going to be a really fun, a really good time, and we're going to give a tremendous amount of feedback to the people. Typically speaking, people come to me and we charge $400 an hour for a single private interview session, and it's worth it to people. You know why? Because we get them cloud hired afterwards. But if we can do this free and give all of you a chance to really get some experience, that's a goal by me, because I just want you all getting hired however we get you there. Before we begin, I'd like to talk about a couple of really special things that we're doing for you right now. I normally don't talk about our stuff too much, but we are having a massive 28% off sale right now. If you're looking to get your first cloud architect job, that applies to our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. That applies for our Technical Interview Mastery Program, as well as our Tech Career Accelerator Program, to help you get the best career. But right now, until February 28th, we have this 28% off coupon. So if you want to get that next cloud architect job, now is your time. Now is your golden ticket. Also, I wanted to let you know that on Thursday every week, we have our How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. It's completely free, and on these webinars, we will tell you exactly what you need to do to get hired, what hiring managers desire and they dream hire, how to show the hiring manager your past experience counts as relevant future experience. We'll tell you how to interview for the position. We'll tell you what your certification should look like, what hiring managers care about, and of course, we'll show you how to skip HR and get directly to the hiring manager, plead your case to get hired. So that's why we do this, and we're out here all the time to get you all cloud hired. So if you're here and you're ready to get started and practice some interviews, everybody, please type hashtag cloud hired, because that's why we do everything around here to get you all cloud hired. Now, today we're going to be interviewing some amazing folks over here. And these are fantastic folks from all over the world. Some people are my students, some people are students from everywhere, and the whole point is we're going to make everybody get better. The point of training and education is to get better. Wow, I'm looking at that Mark over there with that fancy sharp suit. That's fantastic, Mark. That's exactly what I was looking for. That is the preparation for an interview. I love it, Mark. You're already dressed for the part. Fantastic. So we're going to begin, and what's going to happen is we're going to do a practice interview, and I'll coach you on feedback. Now, I'm going to ask you where your backgrounds are, because if I don't know you, I don't want to ask you questions that you don't know. There's lots of great questions that I can use to gauge your competency in cloud computing. And when I do an interview, I always ask the person what's their area of expertise, because it's more important to the interviewer to know that you can learn something and be great at something than to know that you're great at that 1 or 2 questions that they ask you. So we typically ask this. So we're going to have a lot of fun here. Carter Drew, yes, this is going to be great. Let's get cloud hired. Exactly. Marjan, it's good to see you over there in the Netherlands. Randy, it's really good to see you. Mark Borden, welcome. Wonderful. Georgetta, wonderful. Martian, wonderful. Precious over there in Australia, so happy to see you today. Marjan, thank you so much. These sessions are so useful. I kind of enjoy doing them. I like to interact with the community. I just want everybody getting cloud hired. Leo over there in Brazil, cloud hired. Etta, love that. Sean over there from Trinidad, all the way living in Germany, fantastic. Robert Welch. Yeah, Mark really looks great today. Mark is one of my special students. He's fantastic. He's been with me for a while. And he's extremely capable as a cloud architect and a network architect. Ruth, it's so good to see you. Happy Turtle. I love that. And thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. JFK Cloud hired. Yes. So, who was the first interview? Is it Malcolm?
All right. Yes. So the first interview is going to be Malcolm. So let me clear the board here. And so just so everyone knows, I'm going to remove you from the screen, but not from the studio yet. So you're just going to be taken off the screen. Don't go anywhere.
And Chow out there with that blue wrench, thank you for helping out. Appreciate you more than you know.
All right.
Oh, this is cool watching everybody.
Yeah.
It's like tic-tac-toe.
I just got to make sure they don't actually leave me. I can't have them leave me.
No, we can't let anybody lose.
All right. And I am.
Do we have any more space for any additional ones? Malcolm, it's so nice to bring you here today. I'm very grateful to be interviewing you for this cloud architect position. Let me tell you a little bit about our company, Malcolm. We work hard around here. We work really, really hard around here. We've got a lot of projects and they're backed up, and I desperately need cloud architects because our cloud architects are working really hard. 24 hours a day, it feels like 7 days a week. Now, the good news is I can pay my cloud architects whatever I need, but my cloud architects work really hard. Just wanted to tell you that from the beginning so you understand the scope of the problem. Malcolm, tell me about yourself.
Thank you, Mike, for having me here today. I would love to tell you a little bit about myself. I am currently in an internship with Go Cloud Architects, and I'm loving it here. Before then, I was in a cybersecurity program and really building on my fundamentals of IT and cybersecurity. And here I am now looking for an opportunity, hopefully within your company.
Okay, and that sounds really great there. So what kinds of things are you familiar with? What is it exactly you're doing with Go Cloud Architects?
So with Go Cloud Architects, we design architectures for our customers. We make sure that we discuss our plans and discuss our ideas with our peers, with group weekly calls. We also review our soft skills. We make sure that we know how to communicate effectively and know how to remove technical jargon from our presentations. And other than that, we have just been building upon our architecture skills and our technical competency.
That's pretty interesting to me, and I love that. I got to tell you, I interviewed somebody, and all they did was EBS, EFS, ExpressRail. It was like an acronym city. I could never stick them in front of a customer. They would have laughed at me. So it's good to hear you actually know that it's architecture. Tell me, what is architecture in your world?
Absolutely. Architecture in my world is about planning for things to go wrong. In every design and in everything in this world, things do go wrong. And if you don't prepare or plan for it, then it'll happen and businesses could lose money. So in my words, creating an architecture is all about making sure that there's no single points of failure, making sure that it's resilient, making sure that it scales, and making sure that it meets business requirements and business needs.
Okay. So how do you find out what those business requirements are?
By having a conversation with our clients, it could be over dinner, it could be in an office setting, but I have to ask whoever the customer is what the requirements are.
Okay. So here's a question for you. Let's get into a little bit of technical business. Tell me about load balancers, the type of load balancers exist, and when we would use the different types in our architecture.
Absolutely. So as far as load balancers, as far as load balancers are concerned, there are two types. We have network load balancers, which are very fast and they're used for processing things very quickly, and they can handle a large amount of servers fast. On the contrary, we have application load balancers, which they are much slower, but they are very, very smart, meaning they could do a lot of complicated processing computations very, very slow, but it's very effective. And we use both of them sometimes at the same time, depending on our business use cases. And load balancers are very useful for allowing high performance and for also enabling high availability.
Excellent. Okay, so that's kind of the way we would see them. So we deal with a lot of tech, and we also deal with a lot of business problems. Let's take this situation. We're going to have a site. Let's not go there. So let's talk about storage. When would I use block storage versus when would I use object storage?
It's a very good question. Object storage, to my knowledge, is used when you need a temporary place to store your files, as anytime you put another file in object storage, another one is created. As far as also, to my knowledge, block storage is used if you usually it's used on the cloud, but it's not as fast, I believe, as other forms of storage, but it is used for, I believe, instant. You need something physical or you need something on your network. You need to be able to access it quickly, and you don't want that file to make another copy of itself, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, and we could talk about that more. Block storage is obviously much slower storage than the kind of storage we would use in a data center, unless it's coming across the storage area network, but it's still going to be a little bit faster than object storage. So now we want to secure our environments. How would you secure an environment from the outside in, say a web app?
Okay, so regarding a web app, we would first start with our content. We could start with our content delivery network. After we go from our content delivery network, we will have our, I believe, our load balancers. We will have our load balancers, and after that, we will have our firewalls. So our firewalls is to make sure any unwanted traffic doesn't get into our network. After those firewalls, because we believe in security is a layered approach, after those firewalls, we have IDS and IPS systems, which either detect or prevent any unwanted traffic from going through. After those IDS and IPS systems, if any unwanted traffic still goes through there, we have another line of defense. We can use access control lists, and those access control lists will make sure that anything that passes through the IDS systems don't go through into our subnets. If we want to protect it further, then we can go in the cloud. We can use what we call security groups, and that is to make sure that we keep unwanted traffic out of our devices that we're using, making sure that our devices are always up to date. We have to make sure that we inform with security awareness training, we have to inform our employees of disabling unnecessary services as they allow for unwanted traffic to have an avenue towards our systems. We also need to patch our systems, and we must always constantly update them to make sure that any vulnerability is immediately fixed. After that, to make sure that we have everything in order, we have our identity and access management to make sure we manage our users. That is also based on AAA framework and security, cybersecurity, authorize, authenticate, and auditing to make sure that we know who is doing what and when they're doing it. Finally, after that, we could take all that traffic. If we wanted to have more robust security, we could have live traffic that's always being analyzed by different. Uh, we have different cloud agnostic providers or services that enable us to analyze that traffic real time, and if something is detected, we will be able to stop it in time. A brief overview of how I would view a security architecture.
Well, it seems clear to me you know security there, Malcolm. Real clear. Okay, so do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So, how do you, as a company, if a customer comes to you and tells you, "Hey, I worked with this person in your company," how do you deal with negative complaints or negative feedback? How do you guys deal with that?
Oh, you were doing so good. Um, what we do is we evaluate everything on a case by case basis. See, we know there's two sides of absolutely everything, and everybody's got an initiative. And sometimes you can do everything perfect and they're not satisfied, but customer satisfaction is critical to us. So even when the customer is usually wrong, we'll still generally find a way to make it right for them. Now, we won't penalize our internal employees if the customer's wrong, but we'll find a way to make it right for them, because in the end, it's all about transformation of our customers' businesses. And if we're not happy and they're not happy, we've got nothing. Our reputation is destroyed, and so is our capabilities. So let's go over that. Part to that, we're so rock solid. Everybody, Malcolm has been with me for 2 months. He's new to tech. That was great. Now I'll show you what you could have done better. And generally speaking, it's that you didn't listen or pay attention. So when I said in the beginning, welcome to meet with you, I can pay anything, but my people work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We work hard around here. And then I said, tell me about yourself. What do you think, Malcolm, you should have told me in that section? You should have
I
told me.
should have I should have addressed what you first told me.
Yeah, so I'm Malcolm. I am a highly energetic, hardworking cloud architect. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make sure the customers are satisfied. I just told you I need a hardworking person. You should have hit me with that and then told me exactly everything else you told me, but you should have put in there. Now, the other thing, every part of this was perfect, but you had a little too much negativity in there. When I asked you what is architecture, you said planning on keeping things from breaking. I would have preferred to say, well, it's really about transforming and optimizing the customer's business. We ask them the right business questions so we can determine their business challenges, and then we craft a technology solution to solve those problems. You basically said that, but you started off all with the negativity. Instead, start off with the positivity. You're trying to sell something, you want them to feel good. To my knowledge, I wouldn't use, because you're supposed to be an authority. Now, you are right. Block storage performance is horrible, regardless of what AWS says in their certification exams. I can go to Best Buy and for $100 buy an NVMe drive with 1,000,000 IOPS, or get an IO1 VM on AWS with a 64,000 as a max. So even if I put 15 IO1 devices in RAID 0, it still doesn't equate to my $100 hard drive from Best Buy. So, block storage isn't great, but it's still better than object storage. You were right. Object storage is used for backup and archival, software distribution, and write once, read many times. Perfect. And block storage looks and feels like a hard drive, but it's network storage, and it's used because it decouples the storage environment from the hard drive. You are still strong. They would have loved you for that. Now, on the last question, you went into something negative. How do you deal with problems? I was ready to hire you. I really was. You wowed me, you impressed me, and then you went into a problem. Now that's making me wonder. Now, if you'd said the following, could you tell me what your goals are, so that if I know I was part of your team, I know I could make you successful, that would have blown me away. If you could say, I'd like to know what you need most, so if I was part of your team, I could really help you, again, that would be good. But direct it into something positive that shows you want to help them, as opposed to making them expect problems because of errors. Subtle. But if you were in the hiring manager, what would you feel, Malcolm? You see what I'm describing?
Oh, I hear everything you're saying. It's perfect. It's pinpoint
No.
on.
In your early 20s, 2 months into my program, this is a rock star interview. Rock star interview. It's really solid. You'll watch others and they may not be this good. This is really solid. But I want it perfect. Why do I want it perfect? Why am I so cared? Because if Malcolm goes on an interview like this, he's still going to get hired, but he'll get a $160,000 job. If Malcolm does those two things, it'll be a $250,000 job. Where do I want Malcolm? I want him in the better job because I want Malcolm to be a chief technology officer by the time he's 30, and he can do it. I know Malcolm, he can do it, but we got to get all that because I got to get you to look like the fancy leader because the architect is the leader. But great job, Malcolm. Sorry, I'm struggling with the name Malcolm today because I would think to call you another one. Great job there, Malcolm. That's what I was hoping to see, and I'm really, really, really happy. Keep it up.
Good job. Good job, Malcolm.
Real good job, Malcolm.
That was great. All right, let's make sure we give everybody give Malcolm a hand there.
Seriously.
So I wanted to piggyback on something that you said, Mike, because you mentioned it, but you didn't go into why. He pointed out the to my knowledge are so there's sayings like that. I don't know, they're called like idioms or nomenclature or something. I don't know what they're called, but like to my knowledge, as far as I'm aware, those types of things, they come across as crutches and limitations to you. So from a hiring manager's perspective, we'll pick up on that and be like, why are they falling back on saying that? What are they trying to prop up by using this phrase? So that's why he said don't use that type of thing. And like I said, it's not just to my knowledge, but it's also there's if you think about them for a little bit, you'll think of some that you've heard people say, whether it's on TV or it's in interviews, or you'll hear lawyers use it a lot of times. But I'm sure, am I correct that that's why you were saying that?
That's exactly. It felt too tentative.
Exactly.
And it felt like a crush.
Yeah.
And because of that, it just I want you to be I want you to really show what you know, because it's in here.
Yeah, you
don't here. You proved it to me. It was there.
You don't need a crutch. So there was no reason for you. There was no reason for you to use it because you didn't need it.
When you hit that security architecture, there's not a single person that would have heard that and went, whoa. Because, I might hear from somebody, hey, security is just WAF ensuring a network ACL. And that's not what I would be securing anything with. But you gave me something that would work in multi-cloud. You gave me something that was super high security. And you did it using no acronyms. So that was perfect. I understood you without a secret decoder ring.
Yeah.
Because your customers didn't read the AWS textbook of fancy names of things, and then read the Azure textbook, which has new fancy names of the same thing, and have a Google textbook, which has a new set of fancy names. I mean, seriously, think about it. Virtual machine, compute engine instance, Elastic Compute Cloud. It's called a virtual machine and be done with it.
All right. So I'm going to let Malcolm go. Malcolm, when I remove you, if you'll go ahead and just leave the studio completely so we can make sure the next
person. And please join us on YouTube, Malcolm, because I want you to consistent to see the rest of this.
Yeah.
This is your reconnaissance.
Just drop off of here and just switch over to YouTube. Good job.
Thank you, guys.
Very good job.
All right. So the next one, I believe, is Jermaine. So let me add in here. All right. So I'm going to remove myself now. Good luck.
Hi, Jermaine. Loving the suit over there. You're muted out, Jermaine, if you want to just unmute.
There we go. Hey, Mike. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.
Hi, Jermaine. Thank you so much for coming into Romeo Tango Yankee Company. We are a cloud consulting firm. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good, and thank you for having me today. I'm very excited about this opportunity.
Well, I'm very excited to meet you. I called my recruiter, Christina, over at IT Excel, and she sent you over, and she usually knows some pretty great people. So, I'm happy you're here. Could you tell me a little bit about yourself, Jermaine?
Yes, definitely, Mike. Appreciate you for asking me that, because I'm definitely an expert in that subject. I'm a very highly motivated person that loves to learn and loves to grow. I come from a small country, and part of the thing that motivates me, as you may learn if I become part of this company, is that watching my mom take us from that country and bringing us here to America to give us large opportunities really motivates me and makes me appreciate every opportunity that I'm given. So I'm an extremely hard worker, and I love to learn. So that's kind of the person that I am.
You know, I totally understand that. My family's from Greece, and let me tell you, when they get here, they were so grateful for every opportunity, and they seized it. Well, where are you from? It's interesting. You said where'd you guys come from? The small country.
Yes, I'm from Jamaica. It's not very small. It's a small country, but we're large as far as the accomplishments that people from the island have done. So I want to follow in those guys' footsteps. My heroes are like Bob Marley, Usain Bolt, Gregory Isaacs, you know, and I believe that I want to take the approach that those guys did and leave an imprint in cloud technology like those guys left the imprint on the music industry or the sports industry.
That sounds really noble. I've got to tell you, I love Bob Marley, Ziggy Marley, Damian Marley myself, so I completely understand. Now, let's talk about some cloud stuff because I got to know what you're capable of doing. I have two equal cost paths, meaning two private lines to the cloud, and I don't want to get out of order packets. Is there any kind of routing protocol or any tuning that I could do to load share across both links?
Mike, to be 100% honest with you, that is not an aspect that I have touched a lot of. I do have some information for it, but for me, I like to give a confident answer in what I do because I appreciate my customers' network, and I wouldn't want to go in and be the guy that does something to destroy. I usually consult on a professional to help me in that. I can give you some of the answers that of my limited knowledge in that aspect, as far as using BGP or a TCP connection that will guarantee the route. But I would want to give you a more solid answer if I was working for your company.
Okay, and that's a very reasonable answer. Truth be told, I asked you a pretty heavy-duty network engineering question because I wanted to see how you would respond, and I'm good with that. So let's talk about databases. Let's talk about relational databases versus NoSQL databases. Which should I use, and when, and why?
That's a great question, Mike. This is something that's more along the lines that I touch. I come from a coding background, so these are some things that I've touched in my coding experience. So if I was using a relational database, this would be something that I would have more of a key value pair. Something like if I were storing customer records that had a customer purchased an item, where I can sync up the customer ID with the customer purchase and with their order ID. So anything that's structured like that is something where I would use a relational database. Now, if I was looking for something where the data was a little bit more unstructured, like maybe social media content, where there are likes, follows, and a lot of different things that go on, I would use a non-relational database, something like a MongoDB, or I would say, yes, something like a MongoDB, where the data is more structured and maybe like a JSON object or a Python dictionary, and they go for really fast reads and they're very highly scalable.
I love that. Now, I noticed you mentioned MongoDB. Is there a reason you selected, say, MongoDB or Cassandra and didn't mention something like a DynamoDB?
Yes, Mike, I'm really glad that you asked me that. Because of my mentor has taught me in the way that I learned the cloud, I really wanted to learn more of the fundamentals and the underlying that made everything work rather than just being one cloud champion or a single cloud. I really want to be good at the entire architecture and the fundamentals. So I use architecture that can be used either on premises in your private cloud or on any public cloud that you choose.
Would that make multi-cloud easier?
Yes, definitely. And that's one of our expertise. We are multi-cloud advocates. We do think that for mission critical systems, you should have either on-premises and an in-cloud database, or take advantage of 2 cloud environments, if not 3, depending on your availability concerns.
Good, and I agree with that. Could you tell me some reasons why we should use a second cloud?
Yes, and I can give you an example of recently. So most clouds, their service level agreements say they're 99.99999% available all the time. Well, in the reality, we have yet to see that come to fruition. So what we do at my current job where we work at Go Cloud Academy is we say, hey, we use one cloud, and if they're down for today and everybody's panicking and everybody's calling to see the magazines and see how they can get their systems back up, being that we would set you up as an active environment. If Amazon cloud is down, well, you'll have Azure as a backup, and you will have no problems in your infrastructure, and all your mission critical systems will be up and running.
Good. And that's why we like multi-cloud too. Could you talk about the kind of failures that could take a single cloud down no matter how many availability zones and regions we use?
Yes, excellent question, Mike. So that's one of the things that I like to deep dive in. Anytime I see a cloud go down, I like to look and see what the issue is so that I can prevent those issues in the future for my customers. What we found is that for the most part, when a cloud vendor goes down, it's their network that gets taken down. And because these networks are so tightly woven, an outage in, for say, if you're dealing with Amazon, an outage in their eastern region has the potential to take down the entire scope of worldwide, because there's some tightly knit architecture underneath as far as routers, switches, and different hardware appliances like that that can cause network failure.
Absolutely. Network failure could take it down. Could you think of two other causes that could take a single cloud down? Two big things that would be scary?
Well, you can have a catastrophic event, something that's uncontrollable, something like a weather event, like some places have typhoons, some places have snowstorms, some places have hurricanes, different things like that. Or you can be in a place that gets flooded. The one thing that you can't prevent is acts of nature.
Okay. So, all right. So that gives me a little bit of information over there. Now, tell me the advantages of serverless and the major disadvantages of serverless.
Yes. Okay. So I've recently been doing some studying on serverless, because I've actually spoke with some customers that their entire architecture is based on serverless. Now, serverless can be beautiful depending on how you build it. They do give the advantage of being able to scale relatively quickly. So if you're a new startup, you can have a business up and running if you have a great team, in just a few days, you can have a big enterprise running all on serverless. Now, just like everything else in life, there's always trade-offs. So what you gain in scalability, and that you don't have to manage anything, you lose as far as in control, and that you're locked into that one service provider for the life of your application. And there isn't an easy way to move that. Once you're built in on serverless, you are stuck on that platform.
Okay. Excellent. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, Mike. I would like to know, at your company, what are the opportunities for growth for somebody who's outperforming, and how does somebody continue to grow as a solution engineer or architect at your present company?
Well, look, we are a global organization, and what determines how fast our people rise to the occasion is how good of a job they do. We take each person. We're not a cookie cutter company where everybody gets an average at the end of the year, no matter how good they are. We are an entrepreneurial company. So if you go out there and you bring in good business to the company, and your customers are satisfied, and when you're bringing in business and closing deals, they're deals that work and they don't cause outages after the fact, and you bring in more than others, you'll be noticed fast. Obviously, your bonus structure, you'll get paid much more bonus/commission if you're bringing in more. But if you exceed your goal by a certain percentage, it's going to trigger all of us to notice what you're doing, and we're going to monitor you. And that's how we do our promotions, based upon what the customers say about what our people, based upon our experience, attitude, energy, enthusiasm, passion, and whether somebody goes above and beyond. But if people do above and beyond, we definitely reward them here. We reward them with stock grants. We reward them with options. We reward them with spiffs. We take care of our employees.
Yes, and from my research of our company, those are some of the things that I saw, and that's why I was very excited to be here today and meet you. And if you had any follow-up questions for me, I'll be more than happy to answer them right now.
Sounds good. So let's go over this. A lot of that was really good. One thing, you said, I've been studying. Am I going to hire somebody for $200,000 a year that's been studying something?
Probably.
Or do I want someone that knows it?
Yeah.
So just not use been studying. The tech answers you gave me were pretty great. I intentionally asked a question that I knew only a Cisco certified internet expert was going to ask. Intentionally. I knew you wouldn't know because I know 50 people that could do it worldwide easily without getting out of order packets. So I knew you wouldn't know. Why did I ask that? I wanted to see how you responded. Now, the best way you could have responded, the absolute best would have been this way. It would have been, I'm sorry I've not had the opportunity to learn that yet, but I know a lot about this, this, and this. Or actually, I would have basically said, I'm sorry I've not had the opportunity to really get that deep into BGP, but I'm highly energetic, I'm highly motivated, and I absolutely love technology. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know, and I know how to find the answers to things quickly. And if you really want to know my competency, what I really know is security, object storage, or whatever. I don't care what it is. Just point them to the 3 things you know best. I drilled into you pretty heavy, Jermaine, and you did very good.
Yeah, thanks.
Very good. You hit the point on the serverless that it's good. You may have to recode your applications. It may cost you millions of dollars. It may take forever to recode your applications. And once you get there, if the cloud provider raises your rates, you're in trouble. So they're locked in. You mentioned that. The people are handcuffed into the cloud provider. Nobody wants to be handcuffed. Good job.
Thanks, Mike. I learned a lot from the videos, and for anybody that's watching, the thing that helps me the most is going back and from the beginning of the program and watching everything that's from then until now. The thing that drew me to the program is that Mike himself, it took me only 2 minutes to sign up because I can tell that he's very genuine. And from going back and listening to it, man, this has been a great opportunity for me. I really appreciate you, Mike.
Well, thanks so much, Jermaine. For the few short weeks you've been with me, or a month or so, it's been so wonderful to know you. It hasn't been very long, and you're doing fantastic. Just fantastic. And I'm very delighted with what I saw today. It was exceptionally good. I mean, really great. And yes, you will be cloud hired very, very soon with an interview like that. So great job. I'm very happy, Jermaine. You have no idea. So I think we should go to Mark next because I want to really double down on Mark today. And then after Mark, I think we should go to the rest of the population.
All right, so looks like Mark has been called up. So Jermaine, I'm going to remove you. Go and join us on the YouTube stream and keep watching there. Good job.
Keep watching there. Loving the suit. That's the right way to prepare.
All right, Mark, you've been called out.
Mark's had a busy day. I know Mark is bombarded from all angles, but Mark is a very special individual. And I know at some point soon he's going on doing some interviews. So I want to give Mark a lot of love here. So let's start with Mark. Mark, this is Mike. I work for Charlie Victor Bravo Company. I am the Senior Director of Cloud Architects. We are a cloud architecture consulting firm, and we have clients throughout the world. Now, one thing that's special about us is people come to us for critical security and critical availability systems. We will only do multi-cloud or hybrid clouds or hybrid cloud multi-clouds. And because of this, the world's biggest banks, the world's biggest hedge funds, people that if systems go down, people either die or they lose billions, they come to us for our architecture. So that's what we do here. Mark, could you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Oh, thank you, Mike, for having me here. It's a pleasure for me to be here and also to meet you. Thanks for having me. A little bit about myself. I work as a cloud architect at Go Cloud Architects. My main line of responsibility is to design and deploy OpenStack web-based applications on Linux Apaches. I also design containers for computer wiring companies, server virtualization. But I have over 10 years of network experience that I bring to bear in my position as a cloud architect. So I understand the emerging technologies and how to bring technology, digital transformation to organizations. So that's my main, and I'm motivated I'm very energetic, and I go in all when I'm working for a company.
OpenStack Cloud, I'm loving that. So in other words, did you design an OpenStack Cloud, or have you worked on the OpenStack Cloud?
Yes, in order for me to be able to design a good architecture, I want to know what technologies there are in the entire cloud. So from the basic network cabling to the cloud, I have designed all throughout. So I know what I'm basically architecturing.
Love that, Mark. You know, people come to me and they say, I have experience. I've spun up an EC2 instance or made a website. You're telling me you designed and built your own cloud just to make sure you knew how it worked?
Yes, Mike.
Absolutely love that. So fantastic, Mark. So Mark, you said you know some networking.
Yes.
Could you tell me when I would use an interior gateway protocol like OSPF versus an exterior gateway protocol like BGP?
Okay, thanks, Mike, for that question. An interior gateway protocol is used by organizations to communicate within that organization. Therefore, for example, OSPF, which is the open shortest path first, which uses the DAXA algorithm to calculate its path. Now, it's used within the organization, and it's a dynamic routing protocol that is used within the organization. And that is for organization purposes. So that is why we use that, and it's fast. Now, outside of the organization, to communicate with other organizations, we use the eBGP or BGP. BGP is a vector routing protocol that is used by organizations to communicate outside of their organization. Now, the reason why organizations use that is use the AS number that is peculiar to each organization, and it's fast, and it can link up. BGP length route faster, and they also share routing information among the organizations. Therefore, it's a very good routing protocol that we use outside of the organization.
Okay, so I want to make sure I heard you correctly because you gave me a lot of details. From what I heard, you said that you use an interior gateway protocol inside of an organization. I think I heard you say it was fast and efficient.
Right.
And then I heard you say you use BGP or an exterior gateway protocol to exchange information from other organizations,
Yes.
and that it's designed for scalability and tunability. Is that so good? So you definitely have worked in networking before.
Yes, Mike.
If I want to create an IPsec tunnel into the cloud,
okay,
from my remote access users, what kind of devices would I use to terminate remote access users' access to give them access to my systems in the cloud?
Oh, you're going to need a VPN concentrator to do that from your organization into the remote access. And also, you're going to have to have a configure IPsec tunneling, which is more secure, and it has so many. It's a protocol guideline that is more secure, so it uses hashing and so many sophisticated, enhanced technology to make sure that that tunnel is secure when created.
Good. Now, where do I put this tunnel? Do I stick it in the middle of the internet, or do I put it in a special zone or place?
Just come again?
Where do I put the VPN concentrator so that it's secure? Do I just pop it in the public internet like a bastion host, or do I do someplace where I lock it down to make sure that we don't get hacked while enabling remote access?
No, you lock it down within the organization. So you create a subnet for that very VPN concentrator within the organization, and then you lock it down within the organization, because that VPN concentrator is giving remote access to the staff within the organization that are working remotely. So, and also maybe trying to get resources from other places. So that VPN access needs to be locked down. You can't give it any access to other people.
Excellent. Excellent. So now, how would you deal with variable compute environments? So we have a current website, and it's running really great in our data center. We have it on 50 web servers that have 128 cores and 4 terabytes of DRAM that operate at 3%. And during Christmas, they go up to 100%. Is there anything better we can do in the cloud other than renting these $10,000 a month servers?
Thank you, Mike, for that question. Okay, so what we need to understand here is that you want to run under 3% in the data center, and then at a very busy scheduled time when Christmas or New Year's Eve, then you want to have a scaling, right?
Yes.
So what we're going to do is we can have an auto scaling group on one or two.
Okay.
I always will recommend two cloud service providers, and we can have the same set of. If you have the same computing power, that's the one that you have in the data center. We can have the same computing power auto scaling on the cloud provider server, so that at the time when it scales up, we can have that scaling resources available and running, so we won't have any downtime or overload on our servers.
Nice. Nice. What kind of storage looks and feels like? Actually, you know what? I've given you so many, and you've been really doing well with this, Mark. So here's the thing. It's obvious you're competent. Clearly obvious. Nobody's going to ask you these questions and question your competency. No one. I'd like you to be a touch crisper on some of the answers, like with the BGP one. What you told me, the BGP versus the IGP, the EGP versus IGP, was perfect. But if you could have made it a little crisper, like I like the way I tuned it down. We use an interior gateway protocol because it's fast, and it gives us the ability to self-heal or converge very quickly inside of our entity. And when we connect to other entities, we use an exterior gateway protocol because that gives us scalability and tuning. You did tell me that. You 100% told me that. The only thing that was different, I had to work to listen to it. Okay. The difference between that, which is generally enough for you to get hired, and one to guarantee you from getting hired and paid more, is to be just a little crisper. Because here's the thing, if we give too much information and we sound a little shaky on 1% of it, they can attack us on that 1%. So we want to go out there, give them what they need, nothing more, and then redirect to our areas of strength. We want to take control of this interview. But you did really good. And truthfully, I would have hired you.
Thank you.
I've done 5,000 interviews in my career, and if I would have seen that, I would have hired you.
Thank you, Mike.
So good job, Mark.
Thank you, Mike.
Good job, Mark.
Thanks, Mike.
Everybody, let's give some applause for Mark. You know, Mark had a rough day today. He was in class, and I pushed Mark in class because I know he's ready to get hired. So I really pushed him around pretty hard. So let's give Mark a little bit of a congratulations. He's been pushed hard by me. He was pushed hard from an ex-Verizon executive today that I asked to do so. So very, very, very impressed with how much Mark's done today. Really great job, Mark. You go out there and show the world that 50% of your capability, and they'll love that.
Thanks, Mike.
Only 50% of you is better than most people that I've interviewed, and go out there and show the world how great you are.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
Loving some of these people. I see an Ojo there. That's really great. We've got a couple of Ojo students. Cameron, fantastic. AJ, fantastic. Tidor, wonderful seeing you. Sean, fantastic. John, Addy, fantastic. I love this. Absolutely love this. I've got Anya, Chigo. So we've got people from all over the world. I'm looking at these names. We've got people in the West Indies. We've got people in Nigeria, people in Cameroon, people in England, and all over the US that are thanking you for this interview. So there you go. As well as the Netherlands that I'm seeing here and all over the US. So Chris, who do we have next?
All right. Good job, Mark. That was great.
It really was.
Yeah. All
Thank
right.
you,
So
sir.
I'm going to remove you. And if you'll join us over on YouTube and keep watching, that'll be great.
Definitely. I'll be right on it. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
All right. So the next one is going to be IG.
IG.
IG. So let me bring her in here. Give me just a sec. All right, there we go. All right, IG, you're up.
All right, thank you.
All right. I am correct that that's an I, not an L, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. All right, just making sure.
Okay. Now I'm piecing together the accent with the name, and I know exactly who you are, IG. Fantastic and welcome.
Thank
I
you.
always have to piece together accents and names, and I'm like, okay, I know where we're coming from. So, IG, thank you so much for coming in today. We really appreciate you visiting us at Quebec Whiskey Echo Romeo Company. Thank you so much for coming in. Let me tell you a little bit about what we do here. We are an extremely busy cloud computing consulting company. We have a team of cloud architects, as you know, who we're actually interviewing you for. We have a very large team of cloud engineers that build our cloud architects' designs. We have a bunch of DevOps or automation engineers that basically automate our customers' businesses and help deploy things in a more efficient manner. But realistically speaking, what I need is some security people. And because of that, I'm very interested and excited to speak with you because I've been told you've got a good cloud security perspective. So IG, could you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm a very energetic person, very highly, extremely passionate about security and cloud. And understanding that you are a very busy company, I work very hard, and I'm very excited to be here. So, my background actually is Unix IBM Power Series, which is where I started my career, working more on the VIO servers and the EMC SAN storage solutions. And from there, I went into cybersecurity. And I have worked in the cybersecurity for the past, couple years. And I had then moved on to do a little bit of internship with Go Cloud Architect, and that has given me a great insight into the cloud. And that is why I'm very excited to be, to learn, to get into cloud.
Okay, fantastic. So I heard two things. I actually heard Unix systems and I actually heard security. Did I get that right?
That is correct.
Okay, I love that background because realistically speaking, every system we're dealing with for the most part is Linux, and love Linux background. Could you talk to me about how you would harden a Linux server?
Yes. I would harden excuse me, a Linux server by making sure that the patches are installed, by making sure the firmwares are installed, accordingly. I would harden a Linux server by making sure that the unnecessary ports are closed, unused ports are closed. I would harden ports by also making sure that the firewall is is configured correctly.
Okay, so that's great. I mean, you definitely know how to harden a Linux server, and I'm happy about that. IG, could you describe what a next generation firewall is? Could you describe what they mean by stateful? Could you describe how a firewall operates?
Yes. A firewall, next gen firewall is actually excuse me, it's a firewall. Let's see, I'm sorry, let me just think here for a second.
Okay.
you know
Collect your thoughts. It's okay.
Next gen firewall is actually a firewall that you configure basically in the I will say in the perimeter, in the perimeter. I'm sorry. Oh my god. Let's see how I can it's different from the WAF. WAF is the application firewall. The network one is actually, next gen is like a network firewall. Let me just put it that way. And
Let's get past the next generation.
okay.
Maybe work with traditional firewalls. That's fine. How does a traditional firewall work?
Okay, so a traditional firewall actually works more like a stateful firewall, which you are able to record any incoming egress or ingress or egress application or traffic. So basically, the firewall, you create a rule for the firewall, as far as incoming traffic and outgoing traffic, and then it determines what to allow and what to deny. And firewall, by default is deny. So you have to configure, what it needs to actually accept.
Tell me about the building and designing demilitarized zones. Why do we do that?
Okay, so DMZ is basically, to filter out, bad traffic, and basically is put in between two firewalls, preferably, and is basically to like filter out anything that goes, through like the first firewall, like in error. It kind of like filters out everything, and kind of like segregates, bad traffic basically before letting everything else go into the internal network.
Okay. So let's talk about encryption technologies. What is IPsec and how does it work?
Okay, so excuse me. IPsec is basically a tunneling. Let me think here for a second, please. Let's see. IPsec, is actually like you create like a VPN concentrator, with the IPsec, and with that you configure like IPsec tunneling, and basically, is to connect traffic from on-prem, to the cloud.
Okay. So do you have any more questions for me?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay. So, some go well, some don't go well. Now, I want to tell you, you started this interview, IG, perfectly. But when I asked you about the firewall, because that's something that a security architect really needs to understand how the firewall worked, it really started to fall apart there. I was expecting that a firewall is a device that protects the perimeter of a network. The way the firewall works is as follows. The firewall will block all external traffic from coming in unless you explicitly permit it. The firewall will watch the user's traffic behind the firewall. A user will go to a website. The user will go through the firewall, which will typically NAT or take their private IP address and translate it into a public address. As the firewall is doing it, the firewall is tracking. So if I wanted to go to www.gocloudcareers.com, I would do that on my website. My traffic would be sent through the firewall. The web server would respond. It would respond to the sequence number to open the connection with www.gocloudcareers.com. And then from there, what would ultimately happen is the web server would acknowledge my SYN and then send a SYN to me, and the traffic would be allowed back because the firewall watched what was going on. Because firewalls track they allow your return traffic back in, and they block all other external traffic. Now, a next generation firewall is basically just a firewall, but it's got intrusion detection and intrusion prevention capabilities built right in. So unlike a traditional firewall, the next generation firewall looks at our traffic and it looks for patterns of behavior. And if it sees things that it doesn't like, it'll take action to stop them. Maybe reset a TCP connection, maybe make an access control list or a new firewall rule on demand. That's really what we're talking about. Now, when I asked you about the demilitarized zones, The demilitarized zone is a place where you put your publicly facing assets, your internet facing assets. And what happens, you create a specialty subnet and you filter out some of this everything other than what you want to allow. For example, if you were creating a VPN concentrator, you'd create a DMZ that would only allow IPsec traffic. Or maybe you want to have a DMZ for your web servers, and you're only going to allow port 80 and port 443 web traffic. So what you're doing is it's a place to put things that need to be exposed to the internet in a controlled sort of manner. So that's realistically speaking where I was coming from, that I was really looking for Evelyn. Have you done our security training, Evelyn? I mean, IG?
No, I have not. No, I didn't. I didn't get to do it.
Okay. I didn't think so, but when you said you were with Go Cloud Architects, I just wanted to make sure of that, because
No, I didn't.
Okay. So what I would say is no big deal. Brush up a little bit more on the security. I would say really get some time with the firewall. As architects, we don't really configure the firewalls, but we do have to architect around them. We have to write a security policy, which means, how do we build the system? We have to do the user education and training to make sure that we don't necessarily do it, but we make sure there's training to make sure people know to avoid phishing attempts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Lots of social engineering training we've got to do. We've got to do a lot of work to lock down systems. By the way, you are awesome on the Linux systems. It feels to me like you've got a big, big, big Linux background and you're getting used to security. Would that be a correct assessment?
Yes, that is absolutely right.
Okay,
Yes,
because your Linux knowledge is spot on and strong. Really good. Excellent. So if you want to do security, just brush up on some of the security stuff, because that Linux knowledge was good. And you know why I'm excited by that, IG? When people know one thing well, they can know anything well. I remember hiring a network engineer because he knew Windows NT 4.0 well, and I really liked him. So the point is if you learn one thing and know it as well as you did, and that Linux knowledge, that was rock solid. The way you wanted to harden that system, that was so good. I could put you talking about that in front of the chief information security officer anywhere in the world, and they would have loved that. The firewall stuff broke down. So get some practice with us. If you'd like to work with us, we'd love to train you, or you can do it on your own, whatever the case may be. But I'd work on a little bit about that, and then you have a good security career coming from you because you speak very well. And you've got an incredibly likable personality. And I'm going to tell you, that's 50%. 50% of what goes into is our attitude, our energy, enthusiasm, our personality, and our likability. And you are off the charts likable. And that is your secret weapon. And use that. But just try and get a little more on the security side, and I think you'll be good to go.
Thank you.
Any questions for me? Or any thoughts, Chris?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
I'd love to see you back another time, Evelyn.
I will. I'll just keep practicing.
Keep practicing.
And I just get nervous every time. A little bit of
an improvement.
I get nervous every time. I just need to practice.
That's it. Just practice.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. I think you're muted, Chris. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm always I'm always muted. Nobody wants to hear me. I was saying thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. So the next one is going to be Leonardo. So let me add Leonardo here. There we go. And I'm going to remove myself.
Before we begin, Leonardo, what's your background? You're muted, actually. Leonardo, can you unmute?
Sorry.
Okay.
Hello, Mike. Hello, nice to talk to you. My background is I'm a senior software engineer for 15 years in web applications.
Wonderful. And where are you? Are you in South America, the US?
No, I'm in Brasilia, but I live in Germany.
Okay. Okay, you sounded Brazilian, and I was thinking, is he Brazilian or is he living in Brazil? So I love that. You're in Germany.
Yeah. I got a job a few years ago here, and I start to live abroad, and so far so good.
Fantastic. One of our team members, Leo, is in Brazil right now, and we're lucky to have him there. So fantastic. So, and what did you say your background was again? Sorry, your primary background?
As a senior software engineer
Software
with
engineering.
web,
Okay.
like database,
Are
PHP.
you do you want to interview for a software engineering job or something more like?
No, I'm leaving for cloud architect.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, I just I
Although
assume
I'm not
so, but I
expert
don't
on
like to
this
make
yet, but it's
assumptions.
good to practice.
I've been coaching people to get hired for tech jobs for 20 years, so I just want to know which one.
Yeah.
So, and I think you just joined our program like a couple of days ago, right?
Yeah, perfect. So I just finished my assignments, just be meeting and start to watch the videos, the content videos itself.
Okay, so you're brand new. This is exciting.
Yeah, very
So
new.
we'll do this again in a month and each time, but I love that. So, Leonardo, thank you so much for coming here today. I'm the Senior VP at Tango Yankee Uniform India Company. Welcome. Let me tell you a little bit about our company. We are a massively busy multi-cloud consulting organization. People come to us for the following reasons. They've made mistakes on the cloud, they've had outages, they've been hacked, and they're tired. Approximately 16% of all hacking events on the cloud occur due to misconfigured S3 buckets. I know it sounds crazy, but the cloud gets literally hacked every single day, hundreds of times a day, from people that don't even know how to properly secure their object storage buckets. And because of that, people reach out to us. They reach out to us for this reason. We are no fluff. We are all ex-IBM, ex-Cisco, people that really have been building critical high availability performance systems. We make open standard systems that just work. We will never have less than two clouds unless we have a hybrid cloud. Most of the clients that come to us, we typically build them in OpenStack or a Nutanix cloud in their data center and connect to the AWS cloud, and usually Azure or Google as a backup. So that's our traditional environment. We use extreme security. Nobody's coming to us for any normal things. Only the critical, highest availability things. We've got teams of great cloud architects. We've got teams of great cloud engineers. We've got teams of maintenance people called sysops. We've got automation people. We've got people for everything, software developers, cloud network architects, cloud security architects, everything necessary to help take care of our customer. And we're meeting with you today, and I'm so happy you've applied for this cloud architect position. So tell me about yourself.
Yeah, so thank you for having me here. Really nice talk to you. So I could see from your company, you really need experts on cloud computing. And I mean, let's say that I'm in the beginning of my journey in cloud computing. I'm not so expert in that area as I do in software applications. But I have worked with Google Cloud Platform for 1.5 years. And I'm really excited in this world. And for me, about cloud computing, although I don't have this expertise so deep yet, but I am already started my journey in this area. I already subscribed to a really great course so far. So for me, let's say I'm more in the beginning side of these skills of cloud computing, but I'm expecting along the way, along the year, become more deeper in some topics. You mentioned S3, so about buckets. So when you say people get hacked, I have seen companies that what happens, an employee just put something on S3, made it public. So and the file with the dump that the database production database was lying there for months until a penetration test got this leakage. Yeah, so I know people need to know what's going on. So for me, I prefer to be honest and say I'm not expert in some areas yet, because once I know something, I can say, yeah, I can provide a good service. And if I don't know so far something, I can consult my colleagues, the more team members, or some expert in some area, let's say storage or networking, and how to deal with some issue and go ahead.
So you mentioned storage. Are you familiar with object storage?
Not so much. Yeah, just the simple buckets, let's say. But
Okay,
the
and how would you
comparison,
make a bucket on Amazon versus Google versus Azure? What are the similarities and the differences?
well, for me, to be honest, they are all the same technology with different brands marketing from each provider. Because in the end, we are going to store data there. So for S3 in Amazon or cloud storage in GCP. So in the end, people need to put some sort of data on the cloud. It can be static files, can be text files, it can be, well, whatever we need. But from my understanding, this just about same service, but with different names because each provider needs to advertise themselves.
Yeah, they're identical. It doesn't matter which company they're in. The only names have
Wow.
changed. So you said you're new, and that's okay. And we're good with new if you've got some skills in there. So let's try and figure out what you know. What kind of storage should I use? And I don't mean the name of the storage, but I mean the technology type. Should we use on a virtual machine to make sure that when the system gets rebooted or the system is terminated, it still works? And I want this storage to work on Azure, Google, OpenStack, and AWS. What kind of storage will we use for that?
Well, I would say in that case that we need to have some solution that is not locked in some vendor, in some provider specific, Amazon or GCP, but which research to use, I'm not sure, unfortunately, so I cannot provide some answer regarding that.
Okay, and that's totally fair. So when would I use an SQL database versus a NoSQL database?
Yeah, so good question. For SQL databases, the traditional ones are the transactional resources. So let's say that we have a set of instructions that need to be executed one after one, and if something fails, everything must fail. So let's say if I'm transfer money, so this transaction is for relation database. I have worked with Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, the big ones, also MySQL, more basic one, but still just relation database. And the NoSQL is for another perspective. When we have data that's not structured, let's say reading from a document, and we don't need to do this link or joins between the tables, and we need higher performance than the traditional SQL database. Nowadays, I would say that we can use a relation database like Oracle, and once some NoSQL database in front of that as a cache, for example. It's not one-on-one solution. It depends how we can scale an application.
Okay, here's a question for you, Leonardo. What do you know best in the entire world?
What I know regarding technologies?
Yeah, just best. What do you
Wow.
know best, better than anything that you would consider yourself to be an expert on?
Well, for me, and my programming language that I do, that is PHP. This I believe I perform best nowadays.
Okay, tell me what goes into developing an application in PHP.
Yeah. So when we then need to develop some application, web application, we have two words, something on front end facing for the world, so what people see as a design. Let's say you visit YouTube, you have a design, and you have the backend side. So we need some technology to bring the information from the server side in dynamic and generate this content. And this can be quite complex because it's just one simple request. If you have millions of users, millions of requests in 1 minute, this can be really a problem for the servers and so on. So we need to be able to know how to scale the application behind the scenes without the user sees this in a transparent way. I don't. Was that my explanation good or not? I can go deeper on that. I'm happy to have to answer any questions, Mike.
Okay, and so let's go over what happened here.
Yeah.
And because there's two things going on with you in the background. One is you're so likable that I was actually trying to find some excuse to hire you. That's why I went down the application path, because I was hoping that you could, in the application side, in a crisp, perfect manner, demonstrate expertise to me in 30 seconds or less.
Okay.
So that's why I was going there, because in my mind, if you know one thing really, really, really well, then you can learn something else really, really, really well. And I've used this for decades. I've hired people with different skill sets as long as they know it well. So clearly you're just not ready for the role yet, and that's okay. And you're with us a week now?
Yeah.
16 weeks, 20 weeks from now, that's going to be another situation. This is going to go very differently. So here's the key. What we want to do is we want to show your strength and your passion and your capabilities early on, and not expose our weaknesses. Our weaknesses are going to get exposed, but we don't want to pre-expose them. We want to say, I'm Leonardo. I've been in technology for how many years?
For me, as a senior, 15 years.
Okay, so I'm Leonardo, and I've been working in technology for over 15 years now, and I still love it, and every day is new and exciting for me. I'm highly energetic, I'm highly motivated, and I work really hard, and this technology thing is my passion in my life, and I want to help you and your company. You got to have something like that that tells me that you are what I need. Because if you do that first, Leonardo, I already like you. I like you so much that I'm ready to, whatever you say sounds better. So now when I ask the next question and you don't know, I loved your honest answer. It was perfect. What you didn't do is you didn't control it, though. I've not learned that yet. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
But what did you learn, and what do you know best? So if you would have said, Mike, I'm sorry I've not had the opportunity to learn that yet, and I want to be open and honest with you to build a good relationship, but I'm highly energetic, I'm highly motivated, I love technology, I know what I know and I know what I don't know, and I can find the answers to things quickly. But if you want to check my competency, you can ask me about load balancers, firewalls, and whatever else you know, because then you would guide me to answer the things that you do know. And there's a couple of reasons for this. In psychology, if you say something a negative, the brain doesn't process it. So if I say, don't think of a pink elephant, you're going to think of a pink elephant. And if I say, I'm sorry I've not had the opportunity to learn that technology yet, but the human brain can't remember I've not had the opportunity to learn that technology, that they can only hear the second half. So you're going to be honest, and you're going to be ethical, and you're going to do the right thing. And when you're honest, you're going to show them that you're everything that they're looking for, while you say no. Because what do hiring managers want? They want people that are hardworking, that are energetic, that are enthusiastic, that are passionate about the work, that know what they know and know what they don't know, that are honest and willing to go above and beyond. And when you tell them that, you just prove to them that you are everything that they want, while saying no. And you redirected them to the things that you do know. So now it's not an aimless thing where I'm going to ask you about load sharing on BGP. You pointed me to what you know. Now, prior to an interview, make sure you're an expert on 3 things. Those 3 things that you point them to. And that's how you take control of these interviews.
Wow, no, great. Thanks for the feedback. Really good to know.
And you're going to do that, we'll do it again a month from now, and it's going to look and feel 100% different. But the likability that you had was so strong, just like IG. Wow. The likability with me as a hiring manager, say, if I had another position for you, other than the one I went to interview for, I would call and see if somebody else on my team, because the likability was there. It's so rare to find somebody that's honest with good integrity that the key would be, how can I find you? Or I would have said to you, honestly, come back to me in a few months when you're ready. I would have said that too. Okay. Now, what does no, I'm sorry you don't have experience mean typically on an interview? Typically, it means the person hasn't done a good job and they don't want to say, sorry, you're not competent. they say you just don't have experience, but they wouldn't interview someone otherwise.
I see.
And when
Good.
when you go on an interview and they say come back when you have experience, I'm not saying you, but that's generally a euphemism for you're not ready yet. But in your case, I literally would tell you to come back to me in 90 days because the rest of the interview was so good. The likability, the communication skills, even though English is not your primary language, it was still solid, clean, respectful, and trustworthy. And that was enough for me to want to talk to you again.
Oh, no, good to
So
know.
that's what we're
Yeah.
trying to do. We're trying to make sure that you're so likable that if there's a question, you'll win the benefit of the doubt. But more importantly, 50% of your interview comes from your intangibles, and only 50% is your competency. So if you were 15% more competent, we can get you to say a 25 out of 50 on the competency, and you had that 50 out of 50 on the other skills, which you do, you're a 75, which is already in the top 10%. So we got to keep that and work on that natural strength of yours because that's good. And then we add the technical competency piece and you're golden.
Thank you for the feedback. And wow, that's why I subscribed in Go Cloud Architects. Wow, that I see that the program is really good. Maybe, in 90 days. So let's see. But really
and you've
good
seen
so
some
far.
people that are with me for 90 days. We had Victor. He's been with me for about 60 days, and he's 20 years old.
Wow.
Or 22. So he did great. It didn't look like that. Trust me, 2 months ago.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
it's time. You're doing great. That likability is so good. There you go. That's my Brazilian Leo who said, good job, Leo. He's got a great name too, by the way.
Thanks.
So good job. Seriously. Now you know your baseline. We'll do it again next time. I want you to come back. Very likable. Likability.
Thank you very much for the feedback.
You're welcome.
See you. Thank you very much.
See you soon.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Leo. That was great.
Thank you.
Yep. So I'm going to remove you and you can join us on YouTube.
Please join us on YouTube.
All right. So the next one is going to be Robert. And give me just 1 second to get Robert in here. All right. Here is Robert.
Wow, Robert's dressed professionally in a suit the way he should for an interview. Fantastic job.
Thank you, Mike.
Hi, Robert. This is Mike Gibbs. I work for Foxtrot Golf Hotel Company. We are a cloud computing consulting company. We get involved in high availability, precision, high performance, multi-cloud architectures. We work real hard around here, Mark, but I got to tell you, we get some really great rewards too, because we go through periods of time where we work really hard, but I'll tell you what, we take really good care of our employees. But it's really important for us to know that everybody's part of a team. We might be on vacation for 2 weeks and do absolutely nothing. But if we get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning that our customer is down, it's really critical to know that we're there for them. Tell me about yourself, Robert.
You know, that's really great to hear about you and your company. First of all, Mike, thank you for bringing me into your office today. I want to let you know I really enjoy that picture of your cat in the background.
Thank you. I really do love that cat, Cindy.
Yeah, actually, I have 2 cats of my own and 2 dogs, so a new cat to the family. But going back to your question, a little bit about myself. I don't have any technical background skills, but I've been in the retail side for the last 17 years, most recently in the automotive industry, where I've been working as a salesperson, as a sales manager, and finance director. So even though I don't have those technical competency skills, I have those front-facing skills, and I love working with customers on a day-to-day basis. I love new challenges. And one of the things that I really like that you shared that is part of what I learned in the culture in the automotive industry is not being afraid to put in the long hours and put in the work that it takes to reach our goals. Every month in, month out, whenever we start a new month, we start at 0. So we have a new goal that we have to set and we have to meet. And there is sometimes, as you were talking about in your company here, there may be some slow times, but during the slow times, you still have to be ready for that sudden rush that comes in, and you have to drop everything else that you're doing and put your attention to what you have in front of you. So that's something that I've always had in my past and the job that I've had in the automotive industry. And I've heard great things about your company here. You have one of your employees, Isaac, who is currently working for you. He's been with you for quite a few months, and he told me a lot of great things about your training and mentoring programs you guys have here at your company.
Yeah, Isaac is really fantastic. Isaac had a big IAM background, came with us, became a cloud architect with his IAM background. Isaac, if you know Isaac, that's really great. I love Isaac. I speak to him periodically. He's a fantastic guy.
Yeah, great guy.
So I understand that you don't have a lot of tech background, and you know what? That's okay, because I really do like the sales background. So what goes in, and architecture and sales are very similar in the consultative process that we do. Now, what we do and deliver is different, but the process. Tell me what's involved in really selling something to a customer, a big ticket item, say $1 million or a $10 million or $100 million project. What do you think would be involved in selling that to the customer?
Well, I've never been personally involved in $1 million or a $10 million, ticket item like that. But I think whether it's $1 million, $10 million, or a $10,000 project, the biggest key is being able to listen to the customer, right? Being able to actually listen to their wants and needs and their desires. Sometimes the customers may be telling you what they believe is what they need for the solution, but when you're actually paying attention, it'll guide you to ask the right questions to figure out what the right tool or vehicle would be to actually meet that need. So to me, the biggest key is listening to your customer so you can understand and put yourself in their position and try to solve what their biggest pain point is.
I really like that. So I'm going to do this a little differently with you, Robert.
Sure.
You said you've got some sales background. You've admitted to me you don't have a big tech background.
Correct.
Which, okay. So sell me something. I want to see how you would consult to me. Pretend I'm coming to you, and I've come to you because I'm on AWS, and they told me by putting all my things in 2 availability zones in 2 regions, I was going to have a high availability system. But you know what? I had 4 major outages with these characters this year. So obviously I need something better, because the answers about outages about having a power supply and a power failure in a data center, that's laughable, because either Amazon doesn't know how to build an high availability data center, which would be sad, or something else happened and they weren't being transparent. So this is scary, and I don't want to put all my eggs in that one basket anymore. So what would you suggest? What kind of questions would you ask me to sell me into a better solution?
Sure, and thank you for asking that question. And as you clearly say, I don't have long tenure in the tech industry, so please bear with me with the information that I provide you. But as far as addressing your issue with the outage, one thing that I would say is redundancy is going to be key to no matter what type of solution you're looking to implement. The way I look at when I had my relationships with the lenders, we always had a mentality that we couldn't put all of our eggs in one basket, meaning we couldn't have one go-to lender to get all of our loans approved. The same thing goes with your networking needs. You can't just put all of your business needs just relying solely 100% on AWS, because as you so eloquently mentioned, there in the last 4 or 5 months, they've had 4 major system outages, and depending on the size of the companies, we've seen losses as high as in the billions of dollars. And I'm assuming whether your company is $1 billion or $1 million company or less, and it's still going to impact your bottom line. So what I would propose in this scenario would be looking at a hybrid solution, maybe either another cloud provider or maybe a hybrid where we have. Does your company currently have an in-house data center at all, or did you guys completely just
No, we just put all our eggs in the AWS basket like they told us was a good idea. 2 regions and 2 availability zones. We've had 4 major outages this year.
I completely understand that. And, sometimes I do have, coming from the automotive industry, I've had customers that have had some previous experiences that they've been guiding down the wrong path. And I really don't like to see that. I don't want to sell you something just because I want to make a sale today, but I want to provide the best solution for you and for your company. So my solution would be to consider another cloud provider, or maybe considering having a hybrid cloud solution as a data center if it's within your company's budget, to see what would work best for you.
I like that. Like that a lot, because that would work. It would remove the single point of failure. Very good. So Are there any gotchas to using multiple clouds? Anything that we need to avoid, or anything that would make it harder for us to do?
Well, one thing that comes to mind is that we have to be aware whenever we are uploading our data to any cloud provider, there's going to be no charge for that. But accessing that data when we're trying to download, there is an added cost, and sometimes it makes it difficult trying to transition it down into a different provider. So we do have to be aware of that.
Okay. Any other gotchas, things to avoid, for example, or not use? Any kind of services that would get us in trouble?
Well, what comes to mind would be to make sure that we have two different internet service providers that are connecting to each one of our different cloud providers, so we can have that separate redundancy. So if you're currently, for example, running just Verizon, let's say, to connect to both separate clouds, it's still one point of failure. So we want to make sure that each connection that we have to each cloud provider, we have two different internet service providers. Well, on the front side, it may look like an added needless expense. You'll be happy if there's an outage where you can quickly just adapt and jump onto the next available connection path. But again, my strength is not right now in the technical side, but I am willing to put the time, energy, and effort to learn to get up to speed and do what it takes to fill this position adequately.
Why should I hire you?
Mike, you should hire me because I love working with customers. I love listening to customers. I love partnering with them and solving their solutions. I'm a team player. I always have the mission critical mindset first and to do whatever it takes. I don't have to be the lead. I can do, the small menial tasks that somebody doesn't want to do. And I'm all about putting the company first, because I realize if the company grows and the company is protected, then as a result, in the long run, my career will also elevate. And I'm looking to partner with a company such as yours.
Okay, wonderful. Here's a question for you, Robert. You've told me 3 or 4 times that you're not super technically competent right now. But when I speak to you, you're so well spoken. You've got great executive presence, fantastic communication skills. If I had a job in cloud sales, and mind you, they pay more than architect roles, would you be interested in that?
100%, Mike.
Okay, then Robert, I'd like to talk to you about cloud sales, because I've got another position on my team. And it sounds like you've got a good background. You understand the consultative process. You ask the person about their goals. You figure out what they need, and you show them how to solve their problems. That is the key to sales. I love your attitude. I love your energy, and I love your enthusiasm. And if you did sales and you wanted to find out that you could do more architecture later, we could do that, and that wouldn't be a problem at all. But right now, I could offer you a sales role, or I could tell you to come back a few months after you've had a chance to finish your program, which would be better for you.
You know what, Mike? I would love to take you up on that opportunity right now. And if that opportunity is available for sales, I would love to jump on it.
Yeah, and that's what I would do with you. With an interview like that, I'd move you into sales.
Let's do it.
Not
when do I start?
So here's the key. What did you do right? At the first second you established rapport, you found common ground, you went to the cat, you found a rapport. Everything you said was going to be better there. You are so crisp in everything you communicated. Crisp and pristine. Short, to the point, lots of emotional intelligence, lots of executive presence, gravitas. It was perfect. And if you didn't say, I don't know a lot about tech and I'm not super competent, it would have been the perfect cloud architect interview. So what you should have done was, I'm Robert. I'm a cloud architect. I've got a lot of background in sales and business. I'm highly energetic. Everything you told me, just don't go to the I don't know.
Gotcha.
I will ask you something where you don't know.
Okay.
Then show me you don't know.
Okay.
But when you're actually there, let them find your weaknesses and then use that excuse that I told you. I'm sorry, I've not had the opportunity to learn that yet. And point them to the 3 things that you know. You got to know 3 things.
Gotcha.
And I know you know 3 things.
Yeah, I do.
But I was looking for trying to figure out in the multi-cloud. Yes. WAN connections off of both, but avoid proprietary services. So throw away DynamoDB, throw away Aurora, throw away Kinesis, throw away SNS, SQS. We can't use any of them in a multi-cloud environment. So all that stuff in certification, it's trash. Instead, we use a MongoDB or an Apache Cassandra for NoSQL databases. We use an Oracle database, a Postgres database, MySQL, Microsoft SQL. It doesn't matter. Just we put it on a virtual machine with our own block storage. And in that matter, guess what? We can just shift those virtual machines to Azure, Google, OpenStack, Nutanix, and there's nothing. So we have to avoid the proprietary stuff.
Yeah.
But you were so likable, you probably would have gotten hired as a different job.
Yeah, I'll take that.
And if you were me, you would have got hired for sales, which in most cases pays more than architecture because the sales are bringing the business in.
Well, thank you so much.
Definitely, I'd find a way to get you caught hired after that. Definitely. It just would have been for a different job. And guess what? That's okay. That's okay. But the personality, the likability, the gravitas, that's you. So imagine 2 months from now, 3 months from now, you got a little more tech in you and you deliver that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you. And I was feeling pretty nervous after following those interviews that had all this tech knowledge. So I guess I was taking the approach of might as well put my weakness out there and then focus on my strengths and kind of redirect. But I think you're right. Just let them draw it out first, and then just address it as needed. So
just
I think I'll definitely use it more as a crutch, huh?
Yeah. So don't make a big point. About the weakness.
Yep.
Go in there, show them your strengths. And when they don't know, wow, you've got the best opportunity. I'm sorry I've not had the opportunity to learn that yet, but I'm highly energetic, I'm highly motivated, and I love technology. I know what I know and I know what I don't know, and I can find the answers to things quickly. You hit that and say, my real areas of competency are this, this, and this. Think about what you're doing. You're basically showing them what do hiring managers care about. 1, can you do the job? 2, can they trust you? 3, they want energetic, enthusiastic, and passionate people. 4, they want emotionally intelligent people called energizers. They want people that are willing to go above and beyond. And they want team players. So show them that. And that every time you don't know, use the psychology of that people not remembering things before the but. And wow, show them all those good things. And then you're going to be in great place.
Good. Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate the feedback, and I love being part here of this Go Cloud community. If anybody's on the fence, just jump on in.
Thank you so much. Before I get to the next one, I see Ahmed Chowdhury over there, said he's considering the course. When is the next class? The people that have signed up today, Ahmed, are already in the training. What'll happen is they'll start the course today. As soon as they sign up, some people are already working on their career development plans. They've already submitted in via Slack, and they will be rolled into the next class. Every class we have stands alone. Next physical in-person class is Tuesday. The class after that is Thursday, and the class after that is Friday. And everybody in our program gets cloud hired because they stay until they graduate or 1 year. And graduation is cloud hired, not a silly certification exam. I'm sure you'll get a certification exam in our program, but our goal is cloud hired. Anybody can get you certified, but we will get you cloud hired. Robert, very, very good job. But Ahmed, we can get you cloud hired. I think we've had about 50 people that Chris has actually taken testimonials on in the last 2 weeks. So it's a pretty common occurrence for us. I can't completely remember Chris in the back end is doing that, but there's so many people, and that's why we put that specialty coupon code.
Good job, Robert.
Great job, Robert.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Seriously, very proud, very excited. That was fantastic.
It was.
Sales hired.
Thank you, guys.
Sales rep hired.
All right. So so you answered Ahmed's question. I posted a link in there for him, as well as our February discount that you announced in the middle of a live stream, and made me sweat a little bit.
Yeah, well, I've been known to do that.
Yeah.
I had a bunch of people. I know they wanted to attend it. I know a few of them were struggling. So I'm like, hey, 28% off. Let's just do
Right.
it.
So that
First, I asked you if we could do it, and then I asked you, and then you did it in the middle of a live call. That is just like me. I go live and on the fly.
Yeah.
Thanks for
All
putting
right.
up with it.
So our next person is someone that you should be familiar with, but he, as you are probably aware, he has some latency issue with his camera.
I don't know anybody that ever has latency issues with their cameras.
So the
And
next one is.
unfortunately, I'm pretty bad at name pronunciation. We've got this great guy in the Netherlands, Marjan, which I keep calling Martian, because I keep
Martian.
mispronouncing his name, which is pretty bad. So, but we love him. He's really great.
So
Hi, Mike. Hi, Chris.
For everybody that
Hi,
wants to
Marjan.
know, it is actually. There's his name.
There he is.
Yeah. All right. Good luck, Martin.
Thanks.
Martin.
Martijn. Thanks, Chris, but Martian is super fine.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for dealing with my bad pronunciation.
No worries, Mike.
It's never out of any disrespect. You know exactly how I think of you. And also, Martin, thank you for what you're doing to help out in Cloud Heroes Africa. That's a really critical, important project to me. It's near and dear to my heart. Appreciate the teaching that you're doing there. And I've been hearing great things about you. So thanks so much, Marjan.
Thank you so much. I really enjoy doing this also, especially with all the people that are doing it with us.
Well, I'm very grateful. The Cloud Heroes Africa project that we're doing in Sub-Saharan Africa means a lot to me, and I know you're doing a lot. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike.
Today we're going to talk. Let me come up with some letters from the alphabet. Hi, Martian. My name is Mike, and I am the Senior Director at Juliet Kilo Lima Company. And of course, we do cloud consulting. We do all kinds of consulting, high security consulting, government consulting, critical availability consulting. The only thing that we don't do are small jobs. We don't do anything that's less than $100 million project because we're involved in the really mission critical projects. That's what we're staffed for. Now, I'm going to say this, Marjan, we are very big and very busy. I never expected this to happen. But what happened is AWS had four big outages this year, as you know, and my phone has been nonstop. I can't hire cloud architects fast enough to take everybody and make them multi-cloud. You know, it's funny. Years ago, we told everybody single cloud was a single point of failure and a disaster. And everybody did it anyway. And now it's like everybody out of the woodwork. It's like, oh my God, there's now only 3% of the customers that are willing to use a single cloud. And we see that as progress, and we've got lots of business because of it. Tell me about yourself.
Hey, Mike. So thank you so much for this job interview. And I was looking forward to a video call, but unfortunately, the latency hasn't improved from the camera. So I will get this fixed for the next time. But I'm super excited to be here, and what you were saying actually sounded great in my ears, because I'm super excited always to be involved in projects, creating high availability, high secure, and high scalable designs. And what I hear from your story, you're very big, and if I heard correct, you're only growing bigger, which is meaning that you need scalability, and you have mission critical applications, which means that latency is definitely an issue which needs to be addressed inside of the design, which I love. And exactly what you said, AWS was not the only cloud that got outages, which completely shut down their network and their stuff. So multi-cloud is something what would benefit the organization, as far as I'm hearing correctly from your side, Mike. And I would be loving to get into such designs with you.
Okay, so that's pretty interesting to me. Where is your biggest strength like? Because the cloud is big, and I want to know where your strength is, so I know how to guide you to this interview.
As I just said, designing a high secure, and multi-cloud designs. These I'm willing to talk to you about.
Okay.
One of my favorite approaches is also if we go to a service, we can talk about the CDN, for example, Content Delivery Network.
Okay.
If you want the third one, we could speak about
No,
load
I just
balance.
wanted to figure out. So what
yeah.
you're saying is high security, high availability networks is great. So tell me how you would secure a cloud environment and give me the type of architecture that I could use on AWS, Azure, or on my data center, because I want to make sure I use the same security hardware and policy across all devices.
Yeah, so you're opting for non-proprietary vendor lockdown services, let's say. Is that correct, Mike?
Yeah, I can't be locked in or handcuffed by any proprietary service, not even close. So describe from the outside in how we would protect our enterprise or even a web application.
Well, if we go with a web application, for example, website, I would start out with well, actually that's my favorite, one of my favorite approaches. So I will directly add it in a CDN. I'll start out with a CDN, which is directly giving proper and quick static data to the website, and also tackles DDoS attacks. So that is a CDN up front. Then I would start out with a network load balancer, which carries the load in case well, things has to go through, but to 2 or 3 firewalls. I would use by myself F5s, but that's nothing to discuss now. Then we go through to another. I mean, like we can take a second generation firewalls, which has identity detection and protection already inside, but I would say we take an IDS and an IPS and an IDS, to and share that also over a network load balancer before. Then we definitely will lock down the subnets using access control lists, ACLs or NACLs. Definitely we're using security groups. And well, then of course we use, for example, host-based firewalls on applications, and we will shut down services unnecessary opened, unnecessary ports opened. We should shut down definitely. Let me think. We would definitely put anti-malware there, and that's as far as the security goes on that point. But we can go even a step further if you would like to hear this.
Yep.
Like extra securing it deep down. Sorry, I take a little bit of water. Pretty nervous.
Give me a great one. I just want to see how far we can.
I'm pretty nervous, to be true. I'm always nervous on job interviews. I don't know. I didn't do my breathing exercise. But okay, so we go down on the security. I would say if we're going for AWS, but we can, let me say, AWS is IAM, but we usually call it authentication, no, AAA. This is more familiar probably. We will use this definitely to monitor everything, what goes in, who it is, what they're doing. Then we can encrypt storage, sitting storage, and moving storage, I would say, of course. And
that's good, Martin. You answered all my questions. The only question I have for you is, do we want AWS IAM, or do we want something more robust, like an Active Directory that we could use in a data center on 2 clouds?
Yes, definitely. We don't want something that would lock us down as a vendor. We call it vendor locking and or proprietary services, which we don't use. But if it's really necessary, then as little as possible, of course.
Good. Okay, Martin, I want to load balance 50 servers that all have 128 cores.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What kind of load balancer do I need?
A heavy load balance, a heavy machinery you want to load balance. So then I would say with the network load balancer, definitely.
Exactly.
Definitely. because it
Okay.
needs to handle this.
Now I want to route little bits of low things in between microservices or containers. What kind of a load balancer would I use there?
Well, you can do it two ways. You can do it just via application load balancer, but what I would do is I would do a network load balancer to handle a lot of requests, ship it through to multiple application load balancers, which then distribute it to other VMs, let's go, just virtual machines, where the things are based.
Okay, I love that you know that, Marjan. Most people typically think it's an either or, either a network load balancer for speed or an application load balancer for intelligence, but you hit it hard. You realize that you could use a network load balancer to front end a bunch of application load balancers that then front end a bunch of virtual machines. Yes. Excellent. I don't get to hear that very often, and I rarely get some kind of security answer that's deep like this. Okay, now what kind of storage do I want to attach to my virtual machines? Do I want to attach block storage or object storage, and why?
Well, it depends. If you want, like, block storage is like that you can place everywhere on each virtual machine. A virtual machine doesn't even know where it is. Yeah, you can pop it up, you can take it away. But if you want storage, like object storage, and this storage is it's great because it is storage that will say something about the storage, which is called metadata, which makes it very rich and powerful as a storage for specific goals.
Excellent. Now, can a regular server use object storage, or can it use block storage and file storage?
Well, it can definitely use block storage and file storage as well.
All right. So object storage is more for more software distribution, backup, and archival and data lake type things?
Yes, that's correct, Mike.
Good.
I would use it for this, yes.
Yeah, I use it for those things. Big data environments, absolutely. When do I use a relational database versus a NoSQL database?
Relational databases, like if you're giving, I don't know the exact words, but if you're giving meaning, let's say, to specific attributes, and it's very, how do you say it? You can use it for very structured data processing. And no SQL, not only relational SQL. You would use if you need more scalable data. I'm not very well. I'm not extremely good with storage and databases. As I said, my favorite ones are design. Oh, not my favorite. My stronger points are creating the designs and content delivery network. I would be loving to talk to you about content delivery networking.
Actually, you were still going strong there, Marjan.
It's not my strong point, let's say it, but thank you.
But it was still perfect.
Thank you, Mike.
I mean, you didn't even have to go off of that. It was great. So I'm going to give you one last question.
Yeah, sure.
I've got a subnet.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the IP address.
Yeah.
192.168.1.1. The subnet mask is /30 or 255.255.255.252. I'll give it to you again. The IP address is 192.168.1.1 /30. Which IP addresses are usable? Which is used by the network and which is the broadcast address?
So this is something what you typically use for a WAN connection between two entities. Sorry.
We would use a /30 for a WAN. I just want to know if you can do the subnet mask.
Yeah, of course. This I can also do. Sorry, it is
/30. I'll give you the address again. 192.168.1.1 /30.
I think it's yes. Then it will be a /3. A 0.3 in the end.
That'll be the broadcast.
Yes.
What's the network?
The network is .0.
Okay, and what are the usable addresses?
.1 and 2.
Excellent. Okay.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I was a little confused to do this.
Well, I just picked up an IP address in the middle of the nowhere, and you did great with it, Marjan.
Thanks.
So, okay, seriously, that was a rock star interview.
Okay, thank you.
That was perfect in every way. You could potentially get a little
Thanks, Mike,
crisper and
Mike.
use less words to get out the same point, but that was perfect. You talked about the benefits of multi-cloud. You knew why in avoiding single points of failure. You knew to avoid proprietary services. You gave me a CISSP plus level security architecture for the system, and it was perfect.
Thank you, Mike.
There's no way you'd walk into an interview and not get hired with an interview like that. And I pushed you pretty hard.
Thank you. Well, it's all because of my mentor, Mike Gibbs, and the wonderful program, and all the people that are helping creating this. This is going so fast when people are just starting to join. How fast they are, going up. And
how long have you been with us? Because that was really rock solid, Martian.
I think about 2.5, 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah, I love all the boot camps and all the work that you guys are doing, and I'm following as a true follower.
Well, this was fantastic. I'm excited. I'll be drinking wine tonight, and I drink like a glass of wine like 10 times per year. And every time I watch a James Bond movie, I get a vodka martini shaken but not stirred, but that's the limitation of the amount of drinking I do. I will be having a couple of glasses of wine tonight. The sales rep that I can hire versus this kind of perfect interview. Victor, for his youth, is really doing really well, and I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see where we see him in a couple of months. So exciting stuff, Martian. Really, really great job. I am so happy and grateful. Everybody, can we give Martian a cloud hired in the hashtag cloud hired in the chat box?
Thank you, everyone.
I'm really excited and impressed by that, Martian. I am so happy. You have no idea.
Thank you. I'm pretty. I'm very nervous when I'm coming up. I'm just getting my heart starts beating so much. But thank you very much.
It's okay.
I enjoyed
little
it.
by little. We got to do some more yoga over here. I got to get everybody doing yoga. I'll talk to Todd McLaughlin. I'll get him back on our show. He'll lead a yoga meditation thing for us. He and I just built something special for some soldiers. That I'm pretty proud about. And let me tell you, I am super excited about this. This interview was fantastic. Fantastic.
Thank you,
So
Mike.
I'm happy to see we've got Alexandros over there in Boston, Kalispera. I'm happy to see all the wonderful people here in this great meeting. This is fantastic. So yes, exactly, Marla. Martian sounds knowledgeable because he is. You can't fake that kind of knowledge.
Thank you so much, guys.
I'm super excited. I love that. I love the way Mark is supporting you. Albano, fantastic. I know Chris is probably just as happy as I am.
Support is always great from this
that-
community.
Definitely. I got to put all these comments up here. They're getting a little out of hand.
Well, that's what I want. I want a whole family of people all around the world that supports each other get ahead. That's the whole point of Go Cloud Careers when we started it. It was to build a community of people that help each other. And whether it's Chow helping me with the wrench over there, or whether it was Marla interviewing one of the people in class today, I love that. I love the group. I see Noel here. I wonder if this is my Noel that's recently cloud hired, or if it's another Noel. But in any case, Noel, we're thrilled to have you. Martian, I need to see that.
Noel.
What's that?
It is that Noel. Somebody
asked. Noel, congratulations and cloud hired, and we are super thrilled to see you here today.
Yeah. All right. So we've had some changes in our lineup here. We had some
sounds good
people.
Marty.
I'm gonna go with Marty. I'm gonna let you go, Marty.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Go Cloud Architect family. Thank you so much.
Like Nitropan said over there, you're a rock star in what you're doing with Cloud Heroes Africa. I know how much I try to participate and add to that group, and I'm really grateful for everything you're doing, as well as Chris and all the wonderful people that are working with my good friend Samoa Shang over there.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Marty.
I'm thrilled to see you here, Noel, as always.
See you guys. Enjoy the wine.
All right. So we've had a shake up in our lineup here.
Good.
So now we are literally flying by the seat of our pants and just inviting anybody in here. So and even the new people that just came in are now starting to disappear. So I don't know who we're going to get.
Okay.
So you're going to be familiar with the next guy.
Okay.
He was not going to be the next guy. He was actually going to be the second next guy, but then somebody dropped out. So now he's the next guy.
Did I scare somebody away?
I don't know. We've had
Am I
either you scared some people away, or these really awesome interviews. They were like,
Scared some people away.
I can't. Yeah, these are some really good interviews.
These are some pretty solid interviews.
But we preface that by saying it's probably people that have been part of the program. And so the purpose
I
of us
expect our
doing
people to do a real rock solid job. And if not, the reason I want to do it is for people that don't know, they can get some advantages to be better. I just want everybody cloud hired and learn a little bit from my people who are rock solid. Practice, and I'll give feedback. And I don't care where you're at. I just want you cloud hired. With us, without us, I want you all hired.
Yep. So we'll bring the next one in. All right, Bob, are you ready? There we go. We got Bob. I think this is going to be Bob's second time.
Yes. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Excellent.
All right.
Excellent.
Bob, we're going to push you pretty darn hard today.
Yeah, I'm getting out of here.
Please do.
Because
practice.
I'm going to hit you pretty hard on the security because I know you got a background there. And I know you're getting pretty close to being ready to getting hired. So for you, out of respect, I'm going to push it pretty hard because I know you've been working in security for how many decades?
Going on 2.
Going on 2 decades. So I love that. Hi, Robert. My name is Mike Gibbs, and I'm the CEO of India Oscar Papa Company. Love the phonetic alphabet. It works. And what we do is we help customers solve business problems with innovative technology solutions. Now, one of the reasons people come to us is our security acumen. We have a bunch of people from Cisco Systems, from Fortinet, and from Palo Alto, and they are our cloud security architects, and we do not get hacked. You know, we have systems, people come to us for everything. We don't have a single environment that doesn't use zero trust. We don't use any of the little silly cloud native security tools, which are basically an invitation that says, come hack me. Everything we do is with the most robust and secure systems in the world. I'd like to tell me what goes into a security policy.
Well, first of all, you need to understand the regulations that are out there across the world. Are you tied down to any specific regulations such as PCI, NIST, GDRP?
We're tied to everything because we're global. We've got HIPAA for our healthcare people. We got to deal with FedRAMP for the U.S. government. We deal with PCI for payment cards. We deal with GDRP. If there's a compliance problem or a challenge out there, chances are, and our customers, we're going to have to contend with it.
So you're running penetration testing several times a year, gap analysis, things like that?
Absolutely. We have a team of penetration testers that do our offensive security. We also have a bunch of architects, cloud security architects, which we're interviewing you for. And these are people that are focused 100%. Our penetration testers team, literally speaking, every other month do penetration testing on our customers because every other month is about the biggest risk they're willing to tolerate.
Right.
We've got monitoring. We even run some machine learning applications on our customers' logs.
So you
I want to know, but because I need you to be a security architect, I need some people that have got some experience writing security policy. So what goes into a good policy?
A good policy starts from the executive team identifying what is most critical, what data is the most critical, but you also need to know where it is at all times and if somebody's tried to access that data. So you need to be monitoring directly on your critical data, but not only monitoring just your critical data, you need to baseline all of the activities in your entire network and understand if there's an anomaly out there. Bob's logging in from China, but he's working remotely over in Texas. That shouldn't happen. What's going on with that? I want to be able to automate something like that and shut that down automatically if something like that happens, and also send an alert to the people that are responsible for that type of solution. But that's just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to really securing the architect of your company, your infrastructure, your company. And it really all starts from the policies that the executive team comes up with and how it intertwines with the regulations that you're required to meet, because you have to get those reports out frequently, and the cost and the time required to do that can be substantial.
Yeah, but I'm looking for someone that can strategically advise the executive team on what to put in their policy. So could you tell me how you craft it? How do you determine how much security you're going to use? What goes into the business decisions of determining what you're going to protect and how you're going to protect it?
Sure. And you will have ROI cost analysis and risk analysis associated with your assets. And if there's a natural disaster and your data center is destroyed, what cost is associated with that? Do I want to spend the money to protect that data, having an active location somewhere else? Maybe you do, maybe you don't, depending on the criticality of it. But based on what you say, you likely should have something like that, since your data is critical and you have to meet all those different regulations.
Okay. So tell me how a next generation firewall works.
A next generation firewall is a pretty good advancement from a standard firewall, where they're adding functionality such as IDS, IPS, where they're looking for suspicious traffic, or if they see that suspicious traffic, they can block that right at your firewall. There's application control functionality as well. So they're able to scan layer 7 traffic as well through your firewall. And there's also some firewalls that have some web filtering in there as well. So combining all those security features into one makes it a bit more efficient and more easy to manage.
What's a demilitarized zone?
Demilitarized zone, that's a good question. I view it as for example, a guard station outside the building. It's a checks and balances. Say your remote users need to log into your network. I want to scan that computer before I allow it through the firewall. Make sure it has the latest policies on it. Maybe it's got some spyware that he's downloaded. I want to be able to detect that before I let that into the intranet.
Okay. What kind of policies would you put on a DMZ? Let's say I have a web server.
Okay.
In the DMZ. What do
right.
I need to do?
Well, I'm going to have a public facing IP address to allow that traffic in. So port 80 and port 443 to allow your HTTP and HTTPS traffic in. But I also want to have policies in place that check that connection, check that validity of that connection. Is that who that really is? So authentication policies associated with that too. So you have to have multiple layers of protection or checks and balances prior to letting somebody through and letting them in your network.
Describe Nmap to me.
I know that off the top of my head, but I don't want to guess at something. I'd have to take a look at my notes to make sure my answer would be right, and I'd rather not guess.
Yeah, you point me to a strength next time, and because that's that's pretty bad. But if you were to say, I know I've worked with it, but I can't think of it. But you know what? I really am highly energetic, highly motivated, and love technology. But offhand, I can't think of it right now. But if you want to talk to me, my real strengths are, and where are your real strengths?
My real strengths are around securing the network, not only from AWS, Google, and Azure, but understanding how to layer that protection across the cloud and on-prem.
Okay, so perfect. That's what you told me. So now How do you design the architecture in a manner that's going to work on 2 clouds and on-prem? And we're not going to run into vendor issues or policy issues or firewalls working differently and AWS versus Google versus OpenStack. How are we going to do that?
Eliminate all the points of failure as possible wherever you can have them, and start from the lines coming into the building, into the business, having multiple ISP providers. So if one goes down, you're able to fail over to another. Your routers, multiple power supplies, multiple line cards to be able to have failover. If one fails, it goes to the other. And multiple routers and multiple connections to the cloud. And you're going to have that duplicated going to, say, AWS and Azure, and having that ability for them to communicate. If something does go wrong, you can actually fail over to the other cloud and have yourself up and running pretty quickly.
And that's the perfect connectivity. But how do I secure it?
How do you secure it? Starting from the CDN, you're going to have protection around your DDoS, and you can add additional protection at the CDN level. Your load balancers that are going to have an IP-facing network are the first step of coming into the network, and you're going to have, I've got it actually written on the board behind me, you're going to have network load balancers coming in to support your web applications. I like to do a 3-tier application to where you can actually save some money, to where you don't have to scale all of them if something is required. But to layer that, I'm going to have network load balancers between the application servers and have the ability to queue my database servers as well. And in between.
But none of that specifies security. That's talking about how to build 3-tier web app. How do you secure the environment?
With the environment, I'm going to utilize not only the ACLs, sorry, let me slow down a minute. Securing the environment with your control lists, your ACLs, and your, my apologies, I went blank. I know this stuff. I know this stuff so well too, and I've been practicing it. From your virtual machines, you need to protect each one of those machines with antivirus, patch management. You need to control the applications that run on it by limiting what you only need to run on it. You need to encrypt those servers as well. And you need to educate your employees on spam, social engineering, being able to identify those emails that come in so you can limit those attacks that may get through. Having the layered protection from your web applications, your web servers, and your databases is critical. You don't want those violated, and you need to monitor the activity of all those databases and servers for any activity that is out of the unordinary. I use what we call a SIM. It's the ability to monitor all activity throughout the network and do analysis on it. And a lot of the tools that are out there and available even into the marketplace allow you to provide those compliance reports automatically. And it will save you time and money utilizing tools like that when it comes to audits and your analysis of what's going on the network.
Okay, so let's talk about a few things.
Okay.
About this. In the beginning, you started off real strong. You were factually accurate. You were listening to what I told you, and you were responding accordingly. The key was you were listening.
Right.
I asked you a question, and you answered that question. I answered you another question, and you answered that question. Perfectly, by the way. Perfectly. I asked you about a port scanning tool, Nmap, to try and do some network recon, and you didn't know, and that was totally fine. But after that, I asked you a question, and you went in a totally different direction. I asked you how you secured environment, and you were telling me about my WAN connections, which is how you build a high availability question. The question wasn't related. So I was wondering if you didn't know, or if you were deflecting onto something else like a politician would do, or if you just didn't listen to my question. So I wasn't sure.
Yeah, and
then I re-asked you how to do it, and I was expecting you to say, because I kind of pushed you into the thing. Hey, is there anything we have to think about in multi-cloud? Well, hell yeah. We can't use anything proprietary. So we need something from the marketplace, the same kind of firewall, the Palo Alto or the Cisco that we use in Azure, AWS, and the data center. I needed that. I needed you to tell me that we couldn't use services like WAF because AWS's WAF is going to be different than Google's WAF, which is going to be different than Azure's WAF, and we couldn't have a consistent security policy.
That's right.
I was looking for you to point me down those things.
Right.
I know you know about firewall design.
Oh, I just want to smack myself in the head right now.
And it's okay, but that's why we're doing this. And I know you know about DMZ design. But when you mentioned the DMZ, you talked about, you were halfway there. I guided you for the rest. You talked about being able to inspect the traffic that goes into a VPN concentrator or a web server. Wow, that's great. Most people wouldn't even think to talk about that. But what you didn't say is we can lock these subnets down to only allow the specific traffic in, and we can monitor that traffic.
Right.
You knew it in your head.
Yes,
you just didn't get it out. So really the key was, and I know when you're on interviews, it's stress. The key for you is to stay focused and listen. I would say listen twice as much as you speak.
Yeah.
I do. Some people are like, Mike, are you hearing me? Because I'm nodding, because I just listen and listen and listen and listen. I don't learn anything when I'm talking.
Yeah.
So most of the time when I'm working, I'm in listen mode all day long.
Yeah. I'm taking notes immediately, and I have much of what you talked about in your intro, because it's really important for me to be able to go back and make sure I covered all those things around zero trust. And your security team is very familiar with Cisco, Fortinet, and Palo Alto, understanding those products. Yeah, I definitely, I just got lost in my thoughts while I was talking. And
which is exactly what happened. See, what you need to do is you need to actually relax into the interview.
Right.
Most people take the wrong approach. Like, I know what's in your head, Bob. You're a good, strong security architect. I'm creating a new DMZ here, and I'd actually was going to call you to do it with me. So, because my brain's overwhelmed, because that's how good I know that you are. But it's got to be crisp.
Yeah.
Because if it's not crisp, others won't know what's in your head.
Yeah, I see a picture of the DMZ in my head when I start talking about it, whether it's the web, the email, the authentication, how you have to do it, and you have to firewall each of them off, and they have to be isolated prior to getting into the network. And that's really what it's for.
And I hate to be cookie cutter, but it's like, okay, well, I need 2 redundant firewalls at the edge. Can I rack 2 firewalls in the cloud? No. Okay, so the only place I can do that is I can go to the marketplace. Oh, yee.
Yes.
These firewalls on virtual machines, they're not high availability. So how do I fix that? I stick a network load balancer in front of my virtual machines. Now they're high availability. Okay, good. Woohoo! I got my firewall out of the way. Oh, do I need an IDS IPS system? Can I just rack that in the rack? No. Another network load balancer, IDS IPS system's done.
Right.
Access control list. We use them on the routers in the data center. Heck,
I got stuck on ACL, and I was like, what the hell does that mean in my head? And I was like, I got stuck right there. And that's so simple.
Yeah, but the key is the key for you is to get out of your head.
Yep.
And you know how I know you weren't in your head because you weren't being a politician? Because I had to ask you the same question 4 times for you to figure it out. That meant you were just not listening as closely as you need to be. So I will tell you, 50% of people err on the interview and they don't listen enough. So when that hiring manager's babbling and I was babbling, let them babble. Repeat back to them what they said. And you did a really good job of that. And I didn't ask you to tell me about yourself, which I normally would.
Right.
Because I wanted to push you really, really hard to try and see what would happen if you had a breaking point. Because I know you're going to be interviewing. The key is,
and I appreciate that because it helps so much to.
until you got stressed, you were perfect.
I was comfortable.
Go back to being comfortable the whole time, because then what's in you comes out.
Yep.
What's in you comes out.
I had a call yesterday, and it was meant we scheduled 15 minutes. We talked an hour and 15 minutes.
That's a good sign, generally.
And I'm scheduled to talk with his boss on Monday.
Excellent. So just calm it down.
Yeah.
I've heard you when you're calm. We all did. It was really good. Lots of presence, plenty of gravitas, crisp and clean. So let's just keep you good and calm.
That's what I need to work on. I definitely need to, and I definitely love it. Gosh, there's so much to learn every day.
That's the thing. It's like every day is another learning session. I feel like at some point, when do I get to stop learning and start watching TV like a regular person? But I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah. So, I've had a couple of people ask me what I do with Go Cloud Architects. And I tell them, I work as a consultant/intern. We do a lot of content online. We love to teach people. At the same time, when we're writing books and articles, to participate in that article, I have to create that in the cloud. I have to write it up and do a schematic, and it's not AWS centric. It's all three, and everybody sits back and goes, "Oh,
yeah." Let them know that you've designed systems, and I know you have because I've seen you in class for companies that have hundreds of thousands of employees, 50,000 plus subnets, hundreds of thousands of servers. You've done it. Hundreds of thousands of remote access employees with the VPN concentrator design. I know you've done it because I've seen you do it. Complicated multi-cloud security architectures. I've seen you do it. Those are what you talk about.
Right. Yeah. The policies across multi-account, multi-cloud, multi-organization, how you lay just the basic structures out, how you share those policies and roles across organizations.
Exactly. And that's the key point to remember, is that the architects were the designers, not the builders. So for that, we've got to show them that your expertise lies in system design. So make it nice and crisp. But seriously, Bob, that was a really, really great job. I'm super excited. Next one's the charm.
Yep. I threw myself.
75% was rock star solid.
Oh, I was so ready for you to ask me about IPsec because I missed that on our first call, and I've just been reading over it, and I go, "This is so basic. I should know this. This is so simple," and I love it. I tell you, I love it, and I love the people I'm working with, and I'm excited every day to get on the line to talk to or just to listen.
Love it, Bob.
All right. Thank you, Bob. Thanks for jumping in. And
thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye. All right. So the next one, not sure if I'm going to say their name correctly. But it looks like it's Femi. And let me see if Femi is here. Can you hear us there, Femi? Let's see.
Femi sounds like a nice Nigerian name.
Yes.
Which is awesome.
So they've been.
That's like a Silicon Valley. We work with a lot of people from that part of the world.
Right. So they've been in and out in the back of the studio. So I don't know if they're currently having technical issues. So we'll wait just a few seconds.
Hopefully we can get Femi here because I'd love her to have him or her to have a good experience.
Yeah, it's a he. So
apologies.
Hopefully he'll join. So, all right. If not, then we'll try our next one.
Sure. Let's go to the next one, and hopefully Femi can come back.
Oh, and see, I didn't even remove Femi. So yeah, they're still having technical issues.
They're having some technical internet challenges.
All right. So our next one is going to be Mufaz. So let's see if Mufaz is able to join us.
Hi, Mike. I am able to join you guys.
Perfect.
Fantastic, Mufaz. And you got your camera shut off. Is it a bandwidth issue?
Oh, no, not at all.
Oh, no, we can see you. And you're over there in Lagos, right?
Yeah, Abuja, the capital of Nigeria.
Okay, gotcha. Well, fantastic that you're there, and we love seeing you here, Mufaz. So welcome, welcome. Mufaz, my name is Mike Gibbs, and I work for Victor Bravo November Company, and we're a cloud architect consulting company, and we are very global in nature. And we're trying to expand our consulting practice. See, we were relatively slow for a while because we were the multi-cloud people. And we told everybody that a single cloud is risky and insanity, never to do it. And for years, what happened is the big banks worked with us, the big healthcare organizations worked with us, and everybody laughed at us. And last year, Amazon had 4 major outages, which took down half the globe. Microsoft had an outage, which was pretty bad, and Google had an outage. And we can't stop dealing with the phone calls and the requests that are coming in for our services. So we're really looking for multi-cloud architects there, Mufaz. Mufaz, could you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely, Mike. I have been working in tech and business for over 10 years. I have loved every bit of it. I have also been solving customer business problems by, suggesting technology solutions. And I'm always motivated, highly energetic, and always love interfacing with customers to be able to understand their needs and eventually solving their needs. So I have also have some experience in leadership and communication recently, and I believe since I am energetic, highly motivated, I am someone that you should be looking to hire.
All right, that's very interesting. So it sounds like you've got a good background. What are the areas that you've truly worked on? Because the cloud is big. I mean, every possible tech job outside the cloud exists in the tech job. So what have you been doing in the cloud space?
Okay, I have not quite done much in the cloud space, but I am currently learning, and I'm currently trying to improve myself in understanding and able to improve my technical competency and soft skills also. But apart from that, I have, in my experience in designing technology solutions, I have designed solutions, not necessarily in the cloud, but something along the line of website design, development, and all. I didn't develop it. I don't code. It's not my field, but I design it, write requirements, among other things. Then I eventually host the platform or the website or the mobile app for the customers. So, yeah.
So it sounds to me like you've been building the infrastructure for these applications for a long period of time. Is that a correct assessment?
Yes, absolutely, you're correct.
So the infrastructure, not that it matters to me, it's all the same. Has it been data center based or cloud based, or both?
Yeah, both actually, but mostly cloud based. But recently, I have just designed for data center based. Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about web applications. How do they build? How do you make them scale?
Okay, it depends. There's something called Erlang language. When one builds a platform using that language, it's easy to scale for speed and for performance also. But when we're developing web application, we look at mostly the size of the web application and the interaction the traffic is going to be getting. If it's going to be high, if it's going to be a lot, let's say the volume of people visiting the site, will make sure to use something scalable, not the shared hosting or dedicated hosting, more like serverless kind of hosting. Yeah, Amazon, where you are being charged based on the number of usage and traffic you have on the platform. So I think it really depends, but I believe when the platform is light and when the code is clean and when you are able to know the total number of customers you are going to be expecting inside a period of time, then you'll be able to build it properly.
Okay, so in our customers, Mufaz, we would never use serverless because we have critical security requirements, which serverless can't do. We also have greater scalability requirements than serverless can do. And we don't ever want to recode our applications and be prisoners to a cloud provider. So serverless is off the table for 99% of the customers we have. So how would you make it scale on a server architecture? Would you break it down into components? How would you make it work?
I'm not quite sure I got your question right. Please, if you may, could you repeat the last part?
Yeah, so let's say we've got a really complicated application that's got our traditional web stuff. It's got an application set of servers. We've got 2 databases that are running. How do we make it scale? Where are the ways can we modularize it? What can we do to make it scale?
I'm sorry, I haven't had the opportunity to learn that yet, that aspect. But I believe I'm a quick learner, and if that is going to be part of my job, I am going to be sure to learn that as soon as possible. And to be honest with you, since it's not my area of expertise, I also have knowledge in security,
Okay.
not that core, but kind of security, yeah. Cloud security kind of thing, yeah. So I'm not a penetration tester again, but I'm just familiar and I understand it. I've taken trainings for that also.
Okay, and that's fair. We all have different backgrounds. So let's talk security. What is a firewall and how does it work?
Okay, the firewall, defends the defends network on default, except you configure the firewall to allow specific traffics. So the firewall are mostly stateful. They allow traffic to go in. They allow accepted traffic to go in. At the same time, they track that traffic. When the traffic is coming in, there is no need for any any stoppage, any question, or they just allow the traffic to come back out. So come back in rather. So firewall are like as the name implies, firewall. Let's say a room, a doorway where we have just fire on on the door, and you are not allowed to pass until maybe an execution is being brought to allow you to pass or something like that. So it just defends the network. Yeah.
I have four 4-terabyte drives in RAID 0. What's my total capacity?
I'm sorry, Mike. I'm not familiar with the RAID technologies. Yeah.
Okay. So is there anything we can do to improve the performance of cloud disk speed? Say we've got block storage, and block storage in the cloud is pathetically slow despite what the cloud providers like to advertise. It's about 1/15 of what you could get at a hard drive that you could buy at Best Buy for $100. So are there any ways that you're familiar with to improve disk performance in the cloud?
I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure, but I feel if you include a read replica, if that's, I'm not quite sure, but I think I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure, but I think I'll just have to study more in that regard.
Okay. So let's talk about the kind of storage you would use for a database, a high transaction workload. What type of storage would we be using? Would we be using a magnetic disk? We'd be using an SSD disk. We'll be using something that's based on NVMe storage to have low. I mean, what are we dealing with a high transaction workload?
For a high transaction, I believe an SSD will be efficient, will be better.
Any particular kind of SSD, like an NVMe or a traditional SSD, or which would we use?
I'm not quite sure yet. I'm not deep into storages, but I'll be sure to learn more about that.
Okay. So at this point, I'd probably end it on an interview. So let's talk about what was good and what's not good. You kicked it off with to tell me about yourself, and you were totally likable. I was excited. I was actually happy. You said that you had a web background, which I was good with. So I asked you how to make a website, and my expectation was that know that you need a load balancer in front of some virtual machines for the website, a load balancer in front of your application servers, and then for your database, if it was a relational database, you might need some read replicas, some caching, and potentially some queuing, maybe some Apache Kafka on the way in to replace SQS. SQS is great, but it's Amazon proprietary, so we don't use proprietary services. So those would be the kind of things that I was looking for in terms of scalability. And we've got to get that there because web application architecture is pretty good. Now the drives on the cloud are low performance. The fastest storage we can deal with are NVMe drives. So magnetic drives are your typical old school 3.5-inch hard drives. Crunch, 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 crunch. Low latency, high latency. Then we have SSD drives, which on average, an SSD drive gives us about 560 megabit per second throughput and moderate latency. Then we have NVMe drives, which give us about 6,000 megabits per second, or about 10 times faster than an SSD drive. And we can get IOPS about 1 million or more in a single NVMe drive, where we're not going to get past, say, 100,000 or 50,000 in an SSD drive. So we need NVMe-based storage for really high transaction workloads. So when you're dealing with the fastest disks that you can get on Azure, Google, and AWS, and they're still slow, it's going to be NVMe storage.
Got it.
Now, because these disks are so slow, we sometimes have to combine them together for performance. So if I've got 64,000 IOPS from an IO1 device, and I put 5 of them together, I get 64,000 times 5. That's RAID 0. RAID 0 is just basically taking 4 drives and sending data to each drive a little bit, and by writing to all 4 drives at the same time, we get 4 times the throughput.
Got it, Mike.
RAID is just a way to stack our drives to get extra speed. Now there's RAID 0, which is full performance. RAID 1 is when you take one hard drive and automatically copy it to another hard drive in real time. So your primary hard drive goes down, you got another one. It's really great. RAID 5 is when you take a bunch of them together and you basically put, let's say I've got 12 8 terabyte drives in my RAID array that's sitting over here where I store my videos. So 12 8 terabyte drives, 12 times 8 is 96, right? Now in RAID 5, what we do is this following. We take one of the drives and we store backup data or parity data on it effectively. We store a little backup data on each drive. Drive fails, we pop in a new drive and we're back. So those are typically the kind of RAIDs we deal with. We deal with a RAID 0, ultra speed but no redundancy. RAID 1, disk copy. RAID 5, copy and bring your things to other disks. And RAID 10 is basically RAID 0, super speed, copied to another RAID 0, back up in real time. So those are your kind of things. So, Mufaz, you did a lot of things great on this interview. You're highly likable and you communicated extremely clearly. We just have to build up the fundamentals on some of the database stuff, some of the storage stuff, and some of the compute stuff. When you do that, you'll be fine. But you got plenty of time. Nobody's rushing you.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I have not quite gone far in the course. I'm still trying to follow the process that you've put in place. So I believe I'm still trying to I'm still building my technical competency.
That's okay. There's no rush. You've been here for such a short period of time. We give you all the time you need. You did great, Mufaz.
Okay,
it's just, I know where you were and I know where you're at now, and it's a big improvement. And from where you're at now to cloud hire, it's just a little more. No big deal. We'll get you there in a couple months. You did great.
I'm really excited. Thank you, Mike.
And it doesn't matter where you're at. You could be in Nigeria and you'll do well. You can be Canada and do well. And you'll be in Europe and do well. Doesn't matter wherever you want to be. You're going to be just fine. Give it a month or two. Get a little more practice. Do this the next time. Because Mufaz, it was good. It's every day we get a little better.
Yeah.
Until we're where we need to be. And you know what? Once we get there, we set our sights on a new goal, and it's back to daily improvement. So Chris will tell you, hey, Chris, we succeeded. Hey, Chris, here's the new moving target that we have to do. A day later, we hit that. Hey, Chris, what do we have to figure out right now? So it's constant. We're always trying to get better. I know Chris tries to get better every day. I've been coaching people for 20 years, and I still have a coach myself because I've got to get better every day.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, that's what we call progress or life. As we, we have to improve all the time.
You did great.
Get better. Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna let you go.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. So we are going to try Annie. Oh, no. Sorry, Femi is back. We'll give Femi one more shot.
I hope it works with Femi.
I hope it does too.
I love that name. It's just such
All
a
right.
cool name.
So here we go. Let's see. Femi, are you able to hear us?
Hello.
There we go.
Hello,
All right.
Femi. Wow,
Hello.
we can see you. Are you in the US or are you in Nigeria with a name like Femi?
Yes, actually from Nigeria, but I'm now in Canada.
Where are you now living?
I'm in Canada now.
Oh, you're in Canada. Fantastic. This is really great. We have worked with a tremendous number of wonderful Nigerian cloud architects and actually work with a lot of Cameroonian cloud architects, South African cloud architects, European cloud architects, Indian cloud architects. Isn't it great that tech can bring us all over the world together? So I love this. I think I've been to every country in the world from tech, and I just think it's fantastic. So welcome. So I work for Alpha Sierra Delta Company as the lead cloud architect, and we are expanding every single day. I can't even hire cloud architects fast enough because we've been one of the few people that have said multi-cloud, multi-cloud, multi-cloud forever. We've been writing articles in magazines forever on why everybody should be multi-cloud. And all the cloud providers, all the major ones, had massive outages last year. And now we can't stop multi-cloud consulting. We need more cloud architects. So we are really excited to see you today. Femi, could you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Oluwafemi Fabumi. I came into Canada a few months ago, precisely to be January. So I work with MTN Nigeria for like 15 years. I work at the NOC. So the main reason why I joined is, I'm talking about myself, sorry. So I work with MTN at the NOC coordinator. So we manage faults and we manage faults, deal with enterprise services and APN services, like APN services, data and internet, providing support for banks.
Okay, so you're in a NOC. Are you a network engineer? You have a network background?
Cisco. That's what happened. Cisco networking background. That's why I was able to work in that unit. So that's one of the prerequisites.
Okay, I love networking backgrounds. Are you was it network design or network configuration?
We support.
Okay.
At a network management center, we support customers resolving faults. So if there are faults that cannot be resolved from the network management center, we have to escalate it to a unit. We call it MPLS team. They deal majorly with network configurations. If there's any need to change the configurations.
Okay, so you guys are identifying the problem and then you're sending it to the network engineering team to fix?
Yes.
Okay, so let's say we've got a web server that was reachable yesterday, but is not now. Generally speaking, in our architecture teams, we have people that have been designing systems forever, and most of them have never done any troubleshooting because we're systems designers. So every once in a while, we've got someone from a NOC. So it would be good if we had better internal troubleshooting. So you're on the on the cloud. We've got a web server that's up. It was up and running yesterday. Nobody changed the firewall rules, and all of a sudden, we can't reach it. How should we evaluate or troubleshoot this?
From my own perspective, and my own background, what we normally do in case of something like that, we get the IP address, because all the IP address, we have a database for all the IP addresses. First thing first, we think the address that is reachable. That is the first thing we do.
Okay, good.
So
and if it's not reachable, what's the next thing that you ping?
The next thing you ping is the gateway address.
Good. Mm-hmm. And if the gateway is reachable, but the server is not reachable, what kinds of things could be the problem?
If it's an internet customer, it could be a DNS issue. Otherwise, if it's not an internet customer, if it's one of our data customers, what the first thing we check is check the last mile device.
Okay, so let's think about it clearly. You can't ping the server, but you can ping the router. And you pinged it by its IP address. Do we have a DNS problem? Yes or no?
Let me hear you again, please.
So you have the IP address of the server and you can't ping the server, but you can ping the router. Do we have any DNS challenges?
Of course, there should be a DNS issue there.
We don't have a DNS issue because you can't ping the server via its IP address, which means that DNS isn't even involved. So if you can't ping the server via its IP address, but you can ping the gateway, where does the problem isolated between?
Yeah.
It's between the gateway
if I can,
and what else? So it could be the server that's down, maybe the server crashed. If the server's on, what could break between the gateway and the server? Where could the parts be broken? Can't be DNS because we already reached this IP address.
Yes, that's right. Wow.
Where does the server plug in?
The server, you have the server at the server. We have server at our. There are two ways. It depends on the kind of server. There are customers, they have their server at their premises, and they have some customers that have their server at our data center.
Okay. And where do all those servers, whether in AWS, Azure, Google, or the data center, plug into?
You know, we have our own data center, which is very big.
Okay, but the servers have to plug into some network device. What's that device called?
We have routers and switches there, and most of the servers, they are Unix servers at at our switch.
They plug into a switch, which is then connected to a router. So if you can't reach the server and the server's still up, where could the problem be if you can ping the gateway but not the server? What are the things that could have gone wrong?
It could be from the switch.
It could be from the switch.
Yeah.
What about this thing between the switch and the server? If this thing is damaged, would it cause a problem?
That's the cable.
The cable, yeah. Would that cause us not to be able to reach the server if the server cable is bad?
Of course, if the cable is having problem or partial contact.
Okay. How about the network card? If there's something wrong with the network card or the switch port, would that cause the system to go down?
So rarely, we always have problem like that, but we cannot rule that out.
Any of those three things are your problem. We just don't know which one yet.
Okay. But on the age on NIC, we have not, for a long time, I can't remember, because it's not something that always got.
No, it doesn't happen every day.
Mm.
Now, if we couldn't ping the gateway, what would be the next step?
Well, when we are troubleshooting like that, we do use a trace route.
We do a trace route. Great. We do a trace route. It hops over 4 routers and we see star, star, star. What do we do then?
That means star, star, star. That is not reachable at all. It could not reach all the servers all the way. Mm.
So we do a trace route. I can see the IP address of the first router, the second router, the third router, and the fourth router before the stars. What's the troubleshooting person do?
Okay.
Where do they go?
It depends on depends on how many ops. That means how many devices
you have the IP address for the first hop, the second hop, the third hop, and the fourth hop.
Okay.
And then after that, you get star, star, star.
Yeah, that is where the problem starts.
Yeah. So what do you do to where do you go next?
Then if I can log into that particular device that is having problem, if I can log into it and check the interface, if I can log into the device that's where it is stopping at, if I can log into it, can check the interface. Probably there's a physical connection that is down, and probably it could be from that penultimate device.
So we're going to go to the penultimate device, and that's where we're going to check. We're going to SSH into that box, and then look at the upstream router that we can't reach and the downstream routers and try and figure it out.
Yes.
Now, if we get to this router, we might be able to SSH over the next router. But if we can't get to the last known good router, we can't get anywhere. We can't just reach that thing that's got star, star, star. Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, so what's the difference between block storage and object storage, how they work, when you use them, and particular use cases?
That is in AWS. Well, block storage and okay, well, like the SSS storage, it has unlimited space. But the block storage, which is under the elastic block storage, it has I think maximum can accommodate up to 8 terabytes, and if you for the AWS storage SS3, you can. I rarely said that it has unlimited storage, but the storage in Elastic EBS is segmented in blocks. And if you have to do some updates, if you have to update your database, it will be easier because it is updating in blocks. It can be updated in blocks, but in AWS S3, if you want to do the updates of your database, it will do everything at once. It cannot be done in segments. I think that's what I can say about that.
Okay, and we'll go over these for you at some point. So let's give you one more tech thing to talk about. So describe the way a network load balancer works, what it looks at, the flows, for example.
Network load balance. When traffic is coming, it will distribute. It will distribute the traffic to different nodes, so that there will not be any devices that is being overloaded. So let's say traffic is coming from 5 sources, and you have to transfer it to like 3 or 4 devices. So if the threshold, because the load balance, we will check those the nodes in order to distribute traffic so that there will not be overload. There will not be overload in one particular device.
Okay,
that's what
so
I know for now.
We got a whole bunch of requests coming in to our big web servers on a load balancer. Can they be overwhelmed?
I didn't get you very well. If there's a whole lot
We've
of
got a busy web application and a bunch of busy servers behind a load balancer. Can they be overwhelmed?
No, you cannot.
They can. So the point is, the whole reason we use a load balancer is to improve performance and availability. If we get enough requests, we'll overload them with the load balancer.
Okay.
So the key is that. So what I was looking for, so let's go over some of these things. As a cloud architect, I wanted you to know the way a load balancer operates. We've got 2 kinds of load balancers, network load balancers and application load balancers. What happens when a packet comes into the load balancer? There's a lookup on the TCP header, and it looks at the source port, the destination part, and the protocol, and it literally builds a table, and it sends it. So if we've got 5 web servers going through a network load balancer, it's going to remember the flow. All the traffic is going to, from one host will go to the first server. All the traffic from the next host will go to the next server because it's stateful and it's watching the state of the connection. It's looking at the TCP flow. By comparison, an application load balancer would be looking at an HTTPS header or HTTP header, and it would be looking at the header. It would be looking for a push or a get. It would be looking for the protocols, port numbers, etc., and it would be very intelligent. So the point is, we're using network load balancers to increase performance and scalability. The whole reason we use load balancers is in performance and availability. Why? It removes single points of failure. One server goes down, drop, dead. 2 servers, 1 goes away, we still got another server. So that's really the point. Let's go back to the storage thing. Block storage and object storage are 2 different kinds of storage area networks, but they're different in the way they work. The way they work, object storage is we have our data and it gets broken down into something called an object. Now, object storage is a storage area network. So the limitation of performance we're going to get is going to be the limitation of the actual network speed. Because of that, we have to remember the limitation is network speed. Now, when we're dealing with object storage, we take our data, we break it down into objects. Now, what's so special about object storage is there's metadata or data about the data. Because we have metadata in object storage, we can utilize it in big data environments. We can query for parts of the data by looking at the metadata. In fact, object storage is really just like a database, meaning we got a big, giant, flat environment and we put a pointer to the database. So it scales really well. Now, we have to remember that object storage can't be used by servers. So we can't host anything on it. Object storage can't be used to host an operating system because anytime anything is touched, it creates new versions. But object storage is really great for backup and archival purposes, software distribution purposes, and creating data lakes. By comparison, block storage is another type of storage area technology. And the reason organizations use it is it decouples the storage from the servers. In this particular type of storage area network, data is taken and broken down into blocks. And why we love it is the blocks can be placed anywhere in the network where they need to be, decoupling the storage and the servers. So this scales well. Now, when we're dealing with storage on the cloud, block storage is the fastest we can get. But we need to remember that block storage is still slow storage. It's high latency storage. It's low throughput storage compared to traditional data center storage, or even the kind of storage that sits in a server. But it's the best we can do on the cloud. That's what I was looking for in the servers. The reason I went down the technical path with you, and I normally wouldn't for an architect, is you said you've been working in the NOC. And since I didn't know your level of architectural knowledge, I thought I'd ask you what you're an expert on the NOC. So here's the thing. What we do when we get a trouble situation, we ping the server. You're right. It's the first thing we do. And then we ping the gateway. Why? Because if you can't reach the server, but we can reach its gateway, we know the routing and the networking is good. All the way between the server and the router, which could be the switch. So it could be a switch, could be a cable. So I'd say on the networking side, it wouldn't hurt if you knew a little more networking. But that's okay. You were still pretty darn solid with that. So the real key, once we started getting into the traceroute part, we're struggling a little bit, but you still kind of had 90% of it there. You didn't know which device to go to, but you were almost there, which means you've got a good, strong troubleshooting background, but less of it's on the network, and probably a lot of it are on a great many things. I'm assuming you troubleshoot lots of things. Users, passwords, operating system, probably everything, right there, Femi? No, why do we go straight to all the networking things? Because you said you worked in a NOC, and that means Network Operations Center to me. And because I know networking better than anything else in the entire world, including internal medicine, which I used to practice, my brain goes to networking. So what I'd say is we got to build some more storage knowledge in you. On the compute side, I think you really want to get a little better of a knowledge of how the servers actually plug into the network. So servers go into switches, which are plugged into routers. So I'd get a little more of the networking there. I didn't check on you on your database, so I don't know your database knowledge, but you need to know what kind of database to use for what kind of use case. So high transactions, like transaction workloads, like purchases, orders, consistent relational databases all day long. Unlimited scalability, flexibility in schema, no SQL databases. Storing vast amounts of environment data warehouses. So those become some kind of things to do. I'd brush up on DNS. The reason I would brush up on DNS is you had mentioned DNS being a problem when we already knew the IP address, where DNS wasn't part of the equation. So I think you know DNS, but I would just brush up on it a little bit. And I'd brush up on the data center knowledge. That's really the key for we cloud architects. What are we? We're really network and data center architects. And the reason I say this, and everybody hates it, is we take a virtual machine from the data center and move it to a virtual machine in the cloud. We take our object storage in the data center and we move it to our object storage in the cloud. We take our block storage with these fiber channel cards that we're using in the data center, and wait, we use block storage in the cloud. So nothing really changes. It's identical to what we do and have done for the last 20 years. It's just now virtualized. So since you have that networking background and the network is half of the cloud, if you brush up on that networking just a little bit, it's going to make you shine, because that could be your internal strength. So that's what I would recommend, Femi. What kind of questions do you have for me?
Yeah, for now I don't have any question. Still have to brush up a little bit, because I still want to learn more on the architecture. You know, I joined this January.
Oh, so you just got here. Okay.
Yes, I just joined this January. So, and I've not been consistent in the class.
What's that?
I say I've not been consistent in the class.
Well, we'll get you consistent in class, because you know what I want?
Yes.
I want to hear that you're hired 2 months from now. That's what makes me happy. I want to know you're hired. So let's try to do the best we can with some more classes.
I'm going to bring good news for you within the short time.
Yes, exactly. I want to see you in more classes. Let's make it great. And you come to classes and you will be cloud hired. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah. Because I listened to
you saw a couple of interviews of some people that have been consistent today.
Yes.
And
I was following.
Good.
I was following.
So I'm excited you were here today. I actually really liked that first thing you knew was to ping that server. And then you knew to hit the gateway, which was really solid. When I heard that, I was really excited.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I get a little geeky when we start talking about the network and a little deep, because, my CCI number is 7417, which tells you exactly how old I am and exactly how long I've been at networking, back when it was a 2-day exam. Before Cisco realized that too many people were failing it and too many people were saying, I hate this company from this exam. I'm only using Juniper. So they made it a 1-day test with a better pass rate. Good job, Femi.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good job. All right. So we've got one more that we're gonna do today, and I think she's here. Her name is Annie. So I'm gonna bring her in, and this will be the last one that we have for you today.
What a great name.
There we go. Hey,
Annie D, how are you?
I'm doing great, Mr. Mike.
I think we traded voicemails the other day, and I'm so happy to see you here.
Yeah, thank you.
You attended a webinar. I called you after the webinar and sent you a text message. So we didn't forget about you. But I am so happy that you're here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
What an interesting background, by the way.
A lot of stuff.
I like it. Very neat. So I forget, what's your background? What are you up to?
Actually, I came in here in the United States. I'm going almost to 4-year here. And I decided to take some classes on AWS.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm seeing the process of the classes. I'm not yet done with them, because I was trying to change the way people take things when they come in here, not to do the same thing or go along the same way the way people are going, even though it's a little bit difficult, but I'm pushing myself there because I have to do that.
Good. Keep pushing. Yeah. Nothing good comes easy. Where are you from, by the way?
I'm coming from Cameroon.
Oh, fantastic. We do a lot of work over there. We actually have about 50 people volunteering in Cameroon for my team with my good friend Samoa Shang. I've also been a big contributor to the War Fund group, my good friend Ben Jika, as well. So at Go Cloud Careers, we actually have 50 people actually volunteering in Cameroon right now.
Wow.
Chris Fernando on my team, Marjan, Mark, a lot of these people that have done some great interviews, they're actually part of my team in Cameroon, delivering messages via Zoom in Cameroon all the time. So fantastic. Also, Chal is there, Abigail is there. I mean, you name it. I think all the people that have blue wrenches on my team, they're all part of their mission. And that's the reason we started doing free certification training, because of my good friend Banjika in Cameroon. I gave him a few hundred free books and a few hundred free certification courses. Next thing I realized, all of our certification courses are free, and that's the reason why. So we're delighted to have you here, Annie. So
yes, so I was following. Actually, I was on the YouTube. I was trying to search something, and I don't know, for some reason I was typing, and by error, I go cloud, and something just pop up, and I was like, I'm trying to know who is this person, and I follow your first video, and it was quite interesting. I say no, I need to follow. This is the person I need to follow because it's completely different from what I've been hearing before. So that's why I decided to follow the other video, and I started getting the link, and I joined the program. Nobody told me about it, just through the YouTube.
Oh, you joined? I didn't see your registration. Fantastic.
I didn't even know exactly where to start because my main focus was
That's right. We've got to get you on the
getting
right
your first
program.
job. Yeah, getting your. That's why it was
That's what
in
happened.
my mind.
Okay,
Yes.
we got to get that squared away. Now I remember completely. Okay, perfect. We can do that. I'll give you a call after this call. So, okay, so let's start with this. Now, it looks like you've been doing some AWS training on your own. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you work in tech at all before that?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to try and make 2/3 of this behavioral and 1/3 technical because but I'm going to do a lot more behavioral because behavioral questions are very big and common on these cloud architect interviews.
Okay.
So I'm going to start it out, and I want you to listen to everything that I say and then find a way to make me happy based upon what I'm telling you. So let's see. I got to find 3 letters on the keyboard to come up with the name of the company. Okay, so hi, Annie. My name is Mike Gibbs, and I work for X-Ray Charlie Victor Company, and we're a multi-cloud consulting organization. We've consulted to the world's largest organizations on how to build the highest security, highest availability systems throughout the world. We've got offices in Europe, offices in Africa, offices in Bangalore, India, offices in Palm Beach, Florida. I know it's a weird location for an office, but we like it here. And of course, we have an office with Sydney. So we're pretty global, and we're looking to expand our team. I'm going to tell you, Annie, we work real hard around here, but we get great rewards. It periods of time where our people work 16 hours a day for 2 weeks straight. And then the nature of our work, our people are hanging out on the beach for the next 2 weeks. But it's unpredictable. So I got to let you know that we may work 20 hours one day and then not do anything for 3 days, but that's the nature of our lives. And we need people that are flexible and accommodating to these schedules. Could you tell me about yourself, Annie?
Well, yeah, thank you.
Listen to what I told you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Mike, for giving me the opportunity. I heard about the company, as you mentioned, and I don't know how I can put it because if you look the perspective of where I'm coming from, and
I don't care where you're coming from. Tell me what I just said. What did I just tell you?
yeah, you told me about the company and how the workload in the company is actually, and some days they may be overwhelmed by the work, and some other days they may have nothing doing. So actually, you need somebody who is actually flexible and who can accommodate in between the overload and the less work. So we want somebody who is flexible. And
Yes.
you talk about the location. So actually, we are still looking for someone who will be able to travel if it's required by the job to go and establish or to control the business in those locations.
That's what I need. Exactly. That's what I'm looking for. So what's your job on the tell me about yourself question designed to do?
To try to accommodate myself in all the requirements of the job that you just gave me.
Yes, to show that you are everything that I need. I need someone that's going to be hardworking, willing to go above and beyond, be flexible, and be able to travel easily. So, Annie D, tell me about yourself.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Mike. I would like to first congratulate your company. It's actually a great company having those office in the multi area, and I would like to tell you that it's actually fit all my skill because I'm somebody who is highly flexible and I love working. So I can go extra mile when work is concerned, and I can put all my effort to realize that the work is due on time. And don't I am also someone flexible. If the next day of the work concerning what you say before, we don't have something doing because we did everything, I'm somebody who like to read, I will be busy occupying myself doing something or making some research. So actually I'm a good fit for what you are searching, and I think I will be able to join your company.
That's much better.
The little one I can try.
Now, the key for this, and I'm just going to coach you through the whole interview. Like you said, you're fairly new to this, and we want to make this as smooth and simple as possible. You don't have a lot of time to answer that question. See, what happens is hiring managers are busy people. They've got an attention span that's roughly 30 seconds, no more. So you want to come out hard and say something like, wow, that's so interesting, and thank you for the explanation. I want to let you know that I am a very hardworking, highly motivated individual, and I care about delivering what needs to be done with excellence, on time, and on budget. Sounds like you've got some challenging environments. I fit right in. I will do whatever is necessary to make my customers satisfied. If I have to stay late, I'll do it. If I have to work on the weekend one day, I'll do it. Whatever it takes to get the job done. We're a family when we're part of a company, and we must make sure each other is successful. I said the same thing that you did. I just said it shorter.
That's true.
So try and work on getting it crisper and shorter because of the attention span. Now, if I were to say to you, what makes cloud computing interesting to you, what would you say?
What makes cloud computing interesting to me is the fact that it saves us a lot of time, and it saves us a lot of money, and we don't have to go back to the traditional way that we were doing things. So the cloud actually is scalable, and it means it can grow. You don't have to worry about your devices, like restructure the device as you were doing it before. And you also save a lot of money in the term of cost by just paying for what you are using at that time. And also, we have the cloud is very interesting because we have a lot of monitoring system in place that can help us ahead of time to determine when something is going wrong or when it's going right. And we can also, through those monitoring system, think about the remediation that can be take in case of anything, or in case of any danger, any uh, down failure. Yeah. So, and I also like the cloud because of the way the backup system of the cloud. So when we have the multi-AZ, that will help us in case of disaster to recover the environment.
Okay, so let's go over a few things in there because there's a lot of good in there. Everything that you described to me that you like, did that exist in the data center 20 years ago? 100% of all of it? Yes.
I didn't catch that.
So everything that you just described, the ability to monitor the systems, the ability to do this, we did that 20 years ago in the data center.
Yes.
And that's where people get in trouble in job interviews. They've read the AWS book. Oh, we get to do this, we get to do this, we get to do this. And when you tell that to somebody that's a hiring manager, like, yeah, but we've been doing that for 2 decades now. Nothing's new. And that's the difference between the certification knowledge and the hiring knowledge. But what's not new? And you've got a story. I love cloud computing because of the agility. I also love cloud computing because it can be so transformational. For example, I'm from Cameroon. And in Cameroon, it's a wonderful place with a lot of wonderful people, but we don't have a lot of money. So building out a $10 million or $20 million or $30 million data center is relatively infeasible. But with cloud computing, we can basically purchase what we need when we need it. So there's no barrier to entry for organizations entering the cloud. So it's perfect for entrepreneurial startups, and it's wonderful organizations. Additionally, cloud computing is so much more agile. In the data center, if we run out of capacity, we have to call Dell or IBM to get a new server, and that could take 6 weeks. But in the cloud, they already know we're going to need the capacity, so they already called Dell and IBM, and they've got lots and thousands of servers on standby waiting for us. So the speed and the agility of the cloud is fantastic. Now, in some cases, the cloud can be cheaper, but not necessarily. So I don't want to tell you that the cloud is cheaper. I know they say that in certification training classes, but it's not necessarily the case. In some cases, the cloud can be more expensive. In other cases, the cloud can be cheaper. And obviously, all that's dependent upon the way the organization's finances are structured. What is their weighted average cost of capital? What is their system utilization? But what we can do is we can still build systems much faster, enabling digital transformation. So you can feel there's a difference there.
Yeah, a lot of difference. That's what struck me in your video. I was like, man, I wish to have this mindset.
And you can, and we can easily work with you. Here's the thing. If you know the network in the data center, you already know all these things. But when you know the network in the data center, here's the thing. You won't say that to the CEO because they already know better. They've already had this for the last 2 decades. And that's where people get in trouble. They spew off the certification terms. And then the customer is like, wait, I did this 40 years ago. And I'm not joking. AWS just made a new press release allowing east-west routing, which means routing between subnets. Cisco did that in 1988. So AWS has flow logs. Cisco had NetFlow 20 years ago when they were almost identical. I love AWS. Don't think I don't. And I love Azure and I love Google. They are rented data centers. They are no different than the data centers I built 20 years ago that are available for rent now. That's all they are. So the key to get across is to show that you know what this tech is, that you know that this tech is the next iteration, the next logical version of the same old thing, but it's more agile. And agility is great. So let's say I wanted to go to Cameroon. I'm on the French-speaking side today, and I meet with one of my friends that's over there. I've got lots of friends in Cameroon, lots of wonderful people. And they say, I want to build this out, Mike. And I say, okay, let's go buy these 46 servers, these 400 Cisco routers, these 20 Cisco switches, these 10 Palo Alto firewalls. And they're like, Mike, how much is that going to cost? And I give them a number, and they're like, yee. And I say, hey, we can go to Google. And basically speaking, they're going to give you 40% off on the first year before they raise your rates. All the cloud providers give you a discount for the first year, and they raise your rates, just like the cable company. And but in that first year, you might be able to build a business to the point that you can afford us in the second year. Is that transformational business?
Yes.
Yeah, I give you the tech for a year. And then after that, you have to pay for it. Wow, that's helping businesses transform. Think about the transformation that can work in the developing world, places like where I'm from, in my village of Greece, where people don't have a lot of money. This is amazing. So that's the point of cloud computing. So now that you know that, and we've talked about it, why do organizations use technology, Annie? Why do you think?
Yeah, organization use technology because actually is the technology today is I don't know how to put it. Technology today is we can go with that technology actually. We can go with that. That's why the organization use it, and it's a faster way of communication. Yeah, for the faster way of communication, the faster way of getting back to their customer, and the faster way of getting the money, getting the return of their investment.
Okay, so let's think about this for a minute. Companies buy technology. Do you think the company wants to buy technology? Or do you think the technology solves some problem and gives them a competitive advantage?
Not some, but it solves the problem.
It solves a problem and provides a competitive advantage. Exactly.
Not some, but it solves.
Exactly, that's what we're talking about. It's to solve a competitive problem. So nobody ever buys technology because they like it, except for people like me. Because I like to play with it. And all my students have servers in their houses and all kinds of cool stuff. They don't need it because they could use mine, but I've got a lot of students that have a lot of cool tech. Abigail's building stuff on Raspberry Pis just because she thinks it's cool. And that's a great thing. But businesses don't buy tech because they like it. They buy tech for a competitive advantage. So what do you think you need to prove to the customer with every technology investment?
Can you come back to that question, please?
Yeah, so Annie D, I designed a technology solution for you. It's going to cost you $1 million. What does that technology solution have to do for you to be interested in it?
Then if it costs $1 million, then what will you gain after the $1 million? Will you like rather want to have maybe $10 million after when you invest $1 million, or stay where you are?
Excellent. You've got a great cloud architect waiting inside you. It's just urging to come out. Exactly. We have to deliver more value in our solution than it costs. We have to give them a good return on investment. So we're going to have to build a business acumen model or a return on capital investment. You have to show me. If I show you that I can generate $10 million in sales for the $1 million in web servers, are you going to buy those 10 million? You're going to find financing somewhere? Of course you are. Exactly. So I have to have the business capabilities to show you that.
Okay.
So now let's make sure we understand what architecture is versus engineering. Because whether you're with us or on your own, I want to make sure you build yourself an incredible career. Architecture is system design. Engineering is system building. And the skill set is exactly the opposite. The skill set for system design involves asking 1,000,001 questions, communicating effectively, communicating empathetically, being emotionally intelligent, leading large teams, and asking questions and communicating like an expert. Engineering, by comparison, is how do you do the stuff? Those Terraform scripts that you're writing, those Python scripts that somebody's writing as an engineer. We architects don't touch that stuff. The Bash shell scripts that we're writing, the Windows PowerShell scripts that we're writing, the configuration of a server. I don't know. That's what the engineers do. So make sure whichever you want to do, whether it's architecture or engineering, if you're with us, we'll make sure you do what you need to. But if you're on your own, which is okay too, engineer, hands-on, 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 hands-on. Architect, communicate, communicate, design, present, write up, communicate, communicate, communicate. So that's why people get in trouble. They try to apply for engineering jobs with leadership skills like an architect, and they're not going to get hired as an engineer. Or they have all this hands-on tech skills and they apply to be an architect and they don't have the business or the leadership. So that's what causes people to struggle. But you're going to get there. You're definitely going to get there, Annie. But you're brand new to this. I think you're still there.
No, I'm not here.
Okay. It looked like you were there, and then my screen went 90% black with on the right side of it. It looks
should
like
be me. I think I need to put my line on.
Yeah, I think it's on her end. I think it's the nighttime.
Yeah, it looks like it just got dark.
Yeah, night is coming right here. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Now we can almost see you.
Yeah.
Can I put? Yeah, let me put the line on.
There we go.
Wow, what a difference.
I'm sorry.
It's totally okay. We could see you in the beginning, and then out of nowhere, it just got dark.
Yeah, it's turning. The night is coming outside.
Oh, yeah. That's true. It's getting dark in a lot of places. So I think what I really liked is you're very, very likable. Even my students were commenting on it. They noticed they liked it. And you stepped up and you stepped in. So good for you. Little more network, a little more data center stuff. And you know what? You're going to be there. Look how hard you worked. You just made it to Canada. I know how hard that is. That's like winning an Olympic gold medal when you leave halfway around the world legally because you're stopping at the consulate 1,000,001 times. I mean, it's just nonstop work to get here. You did it. You can achieve anything you desire. Anything. So a little more network, a little more data center stuff. I will call you as I promised I did. We traded voicemails the other day, but I still have big expectations and expect a lot of really great things from you, Annie.
I will try. Just that I don't know where to start. I don't know where to go.
What do we do? How do we train our people? The first thing we do is build them a plan. Okay. Like as soon as people sign up, the first day they get an assignment, it's to build a plan. And then we give feedback on that plan. And then what do we do in our program? We do the following. We make sure that we have 3 classes per week. We discuss architecture in 2 of them. And in 1 class, we cover the leadership skills. Why? Because without the leadership skills, we don't get hired. So I love that you had the business side in you. You were thinking about the business. What was the business going to achieve? You told me that I had to have a greater return on investment there. You're thinking like an architect. That's not engineering thinking. That is architect work in every way. You marrying the business with the technology. I love that. We just need to give you a little more technology and you'll be good to go. So build the plan. What do you need to learn? The network. What does routers do? What do switches do? The data center. Why the data center? Servers and server virtualization, containers, block storage, object storage, file storage, all data center stuff.
Elastic first.
Databases, no SQL databases, relational databases, data warehouses,
DynamoDB.
firewalls, VPN concentrators. It's all data center stuff. You learn that and a little bit of routing, a little bit of switching, which is the network, and there's nothing you can't do.
No problem.
So we want you to learn those things. And the reason we focus on those things, because if you have deep block storage knowledge in the data center, on the cloud, it's nothing. If you've got that deep database knowledge, does it matter whether you put it in a data center, Azure or Google? No, it's the same database. It's literally the same thing. Especially if we're going multi-cloud, we can't use any of the proprietary things anyway. So what are we going to do? We're going to get the same server that we run in the data center and use the same Mongo database across 3 clouds on the data center. So pretty much we get away with we don't use anything they teach us in certification because it's all proprietary, locks you into a single cloud. As we saw in the last year, we had multi-cloud and multi-region systems, and they all went down no matter what. The multiple availability zones were irrelevant this year. AWS had a power failure and it took down half the globe. AWS had an issue in one data center, etc., and it took down the whole globe. So you can't really isolate network problems, control plane problems, or security problems, no matter how many availability zones or regions. So that's why we go multi-cloud. But I've got to say this, you did an absolutely fantastic job here. And I really want to thank you for participating. I'm so honored you're here. I will literally call you after this presentation's over because I know you had a question. And thank you for participating.
Yeah, Mr. Mike, I'm the one say thank you, not you.
Well, I'm honored you were here.
I appreciate the sacrifice. Thank you so much.
And seriously speaking, you did great. It's a start. It's a process. What I saw on the leadership side and the business side impressed me very much. So we all have a place to start, and you're on point there. I started by knowing the tech and how to learn the business. Some people know the business and learn the tech. You know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm just honored and privileged with you. So I want to say thank you to everybody that came on today. I mean, we've had so many wonderful people here from so many wonderful parts of the world. She came from Cameroon, just made it to Canada. You know, that's a pretty big change. We've had people in the Netherlands today. We've had people in Nigeria today. We've had people all across America and Europe today. I love this. What a wonderful way to bring in some wonderful people from all over the world. I am honored and I am privileged to be part of this, and I am so grateful to you all. If you could all do me a favor, if you're still here and you're having a good time, if you can hit the like button, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and if you one last thing, if you can put #CloudHired, because I want everybody to get cloud hired. It makes me excited. Somebody even left me a message on my YouTube channel that said, guess what? I just got cloud hired from your videos, and I was really excited. So I love this. So thank you. Also, I want to thank the Blue Wrenches that are out there. Leo and Chow, and I know there's others out there, so thank you so much. We so appreciate your helping to moderate these questions. Thank you so much, Big McB, Chow. I don't even know where to begin. Leonardo Souza, it was so exciting to work with you. Thank you so much. Marjan, Cloud Hired, I'm loving that. Marla, wow. Cloud Hired. I can't even begin to say nice things about you and Kenya and Anya. Oh, wonderful. Mario, Cloud Hired. Saeed, welcome, Cloud Hired. Mr. Gee, Cloud Hired. Gabriel, we don't use any cert stuff, and they don't ask any certification stuff on the interviews either. No, they don't. Know your basics and you're good. My last person that got hired by AWS didn't use any AWS terms. He used generic terms, and he said, you know what? AWS loved that, and they hired him as a senior cloud architect. Yeah, oh, Dave, I'm looking forward to you getting cloud hired. Chow Vandersice, thank you, Mike, Chris, and Leo, and everybody else. Thank you, Chow, for helping us. So, thank you all. It's been an honor and a privilege to see you all. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'm going to make sure we have some special videos for you next week. And you know what? I may even make one on mastering the interview to get you all cloud hired. So thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you next week or in the future time. Take care, everyone.